Mozambique for the Binational Commission. He says many South African companies have invested in Mozambique.
After our session of the Binational Commission, we will attend the launch of yet another flagship project in energy, the Integrated Hydrocarbons Infrastructure Facility, a partnership between the government of Mozambique and one of our leading companies, Sasol. We are also looking forward to attending the Business Forum in Vilankulu, in which many South African companies, state-owned enterprises, and development finance institutions will participate.
Recapping the top story, the South African Police Service says security in the Senzumehiwa murder trial proceedings taking place at the High Court in Pretoria has been increased. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sport headlines. Soccer action. Amazulu claimed the Derby bragging rights with a 1-0 win over Golden Arrows. And the Proteas will be fighting for survival today. Themba Bavuma returns for the must-win India ODI. We'll bring you the details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. We start out in the Ekurhuleni side of Gauteng with a crash on the R21. It's between Griffith Road and the N12 if you're heading south from the airport. Just watch for that one. Looks okay traffic-wise around Joburg. A little bit slow coming off the N1 onto the N12 down to Uncle Charlie's. That's fairly normal. Keep a track on that. Exiting Pretoria, N1 South looks okay as well. Truck crash on Town Hill if you're leaving Pietermaritzburg up towards Houghton, Howick and Hilton. Just watch for some delays there. New traffic restrictions going in from today. Cassia Road around the M13. That'll probably happen a little bit later on today, but it will cause some more disruption at that long-term work. And Cape Town building on the N2. Slow traffic coming in from Khayelitsha towards the airport. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's 8 minutes past 6. Welcome to the show. It's John Carrick in for Tulas again. I know I said that he'd be back today, but he's back hopefully tomorrow. What's today? Wednesday. Wednesday, the 3rd. We're on the 3rd of December already. Just making sure. It's a long month, December, as you know. Welcome to the program. John Carrick in for Tulas. Let me tell you what's coming up in the show. We got our international update today. We're going to the UK. Going to get an update there. There are big issues with relationships between the UK and China. There are these China spy allegations and trials that may or may not happen. And I see the Prime Minister is defending his government's renewed engagement with China. So we'll find out what that's all about in a moment. Then we're going to hear from the Abahlali Basemjondolo leader, Tapelo Mohapi, who delivered a message about dignity, capability, and climate resilience at the 58th Plenary Assembly of SADC Parliamentary Forum, talking about how climate change is affecting the poor, particularly in South Africa. We're going to find out what he said there. Then we're going to stay in KwaZulu-Natal because those climate changes that he was talking about was in KwaZulu-Natal. We're going to stay there. There's an interesting situation happening on the roads when it comes to your insurance. When it comes to drink driving and insurance, and it's a fascinating conversation we're going to have. And it's there might be reasons where even blood tests and breathalyzers might not stop the insurance company from denying your claim. So we're going to talk about that with the lead ombud for the Division National Finance Ombud Scheme, Eddie Texera. Looking forward to that conversation and find out what it means. If they suspect that you might have been drinking, even just the smell of alcohol might be enough for them to turn down your claim. So we'll find out about that. The IEC is worried about the elections. Massive numbers of people are disgruntled with voting in South Africa. The voter participation declining, public trust in democratic institutions weakening. Challenge is no longer just logistical. It's about restoring faith in democracy itself. So we're going to talk to the IEC. Part of their job is voter education. Elections coming up late next year into 2027. and we'll talk about what's happening there. Get an update from the commissions, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu began his defending his controversial decision to disband the PKTT. We'll find out what happened there yesterday. There is, I'm looking forward to this conversation just after 7 o'clock. There are employment equity guidelines in South Africa, right? We know about this. And what has happened now is there are guidelines when it comes to employment equity with how to racially classify employees in the absence of any criteria, definitions, or guidelines. So there are these rules and regulations that we need to follow as South Africans when it comes to employment, when it comes to contracts, those kind of things. There are the BEE rules. But how do you define or how do you racially classify employees? There are no criteria. And we will talk to the National Employees Association of South Africa who have raised these issues. And you got the boxes to tick, right? Where do you fill out those boxes? If you look at, do you just look at somebody and go, well, okay, they are a black African, they are not a black African, they're a white, colored Indian. You've got those boxes that you need to tick. How do you classify that? There's no official stance. Talk about that later on. Then there's good news. South Africa's economy expanded a little bit, 0.5%, and there were a couple of changes to the last quarter as well. We'll find out what that means with the National Accounts of Stats SA. And then there's a worry in KwaZulu-Natal in particular about special needs schools. These are kids who really need support. They need help. And it looks as if a lot of special needs schools in KwaZulu-Natal might not open in 2026. There are just not enough staff being appointed. There's not enough facilities to get learners to the schools. And we will talk to the Secretary General of the South African National Association of Special Education and find out exactly what is going on with those special needs schools. You're with SAFM. It's 13 minutes past 6. I'm John in for Tulas this morning. Good morning.
EFC is live this Thursday. In a division that has produced more global superstars than any other, a four-way Grand Prix will decide the next warriors to battle for the flyweight throne. It's Zondi versus Kamana and Manumala versus Ngamantwini.
Ruthless.
EFC 130, live from the World Sports Betting Arena.
Time to go hard and put your game face on. Ruthless.
Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Eastern Cape MEC for Finance, Mlungisi Mvogo, will on 4 December 2025 table the medium-term budget policy statement. He will outline adjustments to the 2025-2026 budget and highlight key policy priorities for the medium term. Follow MEC Mlungisi Mvogo and the Eastern Cape Provincial Treasury on Facebook for further details.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
14 minutes past 6 o'clock. Melissa Buta is here. Melissa, morning.
Morning, John.
You doing all right today?
Oh, we're alive.
You must hear what goes on before the microphones get switched on. All right, Melissa, let's
Don't
talk.
tell our secrets.
Yeah, serious stuff. What's happening? I see these police officers, apartheid police officers. What's happening?
So, two former apartheid-era police officers, Abraham Hercules Engelberg, who is 61, and Peter Stander, who is 60, were found guilty by the Pretoria High Court on Tuesday for the premeditated murder of student activist Caiphus Nyoka in 1987. Nyoka, a member of the Congress of South African Students, also known as COSAS, and SRC president at Mabuya High School, was shot 9 times in his Davidton home. A former commanding officer, Major Leon Lewis van der Berg, who's 75 now, was acquitted. The court heard that Engelberg and Stander and other members of the reaction unit planned and executed the killing. Witnesses included Nyoka's sisters and a friend who was present during the attack. The accused were remanded in custody with a bail application and sentencing scheduled for December 11th of this year. Previously, another former police officer, Johan Marais, pleaded guilty to Nyoka's murder and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The National Prosecuting Authority has welcomed the convictions as a step towards justice for Nyoka's family.
Justice moves slowly, but it does move.
Of course.
It seems. All right, what's happening in Cape Town? Big tariffs there?
Yes. So the Western Cape High Court heard arguments on Tuesday challenging the city of Cape Town's fixed tariff, including the cleaning tariff, fixed water charge, the fixed sanitation charge, and the city's practice of linking some charges to property values. SAPOA, which is a property owners association representing over 90% of commercial and retail property owners, and AfriForum argue that the city is exceeding its powers and that these tariffs should be classified as rates which are regulated by the Municipal Property Rates Act. The city maintains that the charges are service fees, not rates, and argued it has broad powers to impose tariffs with measures such as rebates for pensioners and low income households. Other parties, including the Good Party and SA First Forum, raised concerns about affordability and insufficient public participation. The court is continuing with the matter, with proceedings set to resume today. So this is quite an interesting case that they've been fighting for quite a long time. So it will be interesting to see how it moves forward.
And then this last story, it's almost unbelievable because it seems as if some of the stuff might have been caught on camera in the background of the Senzo Meyiwa trial.
Yes.
Ah.
So this is interesting, I must say. Police are investigating a conspiracy to commit murder in connection with the Senzo Meyiwa trial after receiving intelligence that certain individuals attending court were allegedly scouting to eliminate key role players, including the judge who is presiding over this matter. A group of men was removed from the courtroom on Tuesday for questioning and profiling, though no arrests have been made. Security has been heightened and authorities are actively seeking to identify additional threats. Meyiwa, the former Orlando Pirates player, was killed in 2014 at his girlfriend Kelly Kumalo's home. 5 accused are standing and facing charges including murder, robbery, attempted murder, and possession of unlicensed firearms. Some of the accused have prior convictions for serious crimes, and proceedings were adjourned yesterday and will continue today. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully they're all safe.
Fascinating story. They've increased security, you said, eh?
Yes, they
Right.
have.
Okay, keep an eye on that. Melissa, thank you very much.
Don Gerika on SAFM.
18 minutes past 6. Let me tell you about the weather. Lots of warnings today. First of all, a yellow level 2 warning. Severe thunderstorms leading to localized damage to infrastructure, property, vehicles, and injuries, livelihoods, and livestock. Due to hail, damaging winds, heavy downpours, and excessive lightning expected over the eastern northwest, Gauteng province, western Mpumalanga, and the southwestern regions of Limpopo. And there's a yellow level 1 warning, severe thunderstorms leading to localized damage due to hail, damaging winds, heavy downpours, and excessive lightning expected over the northeastern regions of KwaZulu-Natal. There's a fire danger warning, extremely high fire danger conditions expected over the north central parts of the Northern Cape. An advisory of hot to very hot and uncomfortable conditions expected over the Kamersburg local municipality in the Northern Cape, as well as over the West Coast District and the Western Cape until tomorrow, but only tomorrow over the Cape Winelands, the Little Karoo, as well as western parts of the Central Karoo District. Pretoria, Johannesburg, and Vereeniging today. Partly cloudy, scattered showers and thunder showers this afternoon. Capital 15 to 27, Johannesburg 13 to 24, Vereeniging 13 to 25. Mbombela, Polokwane, and Mahikeng today. Partly cloudy, scattered showers and thunder showers. Mahikeng, those thunder showers start in the early afternoon. Mbombela 12 to 25, Polokwane 14 to 26, Mahikeng 16 to 32. Freiburg, Bloemfontein, Kimberley, going to be partly cloudy today. Freiburg 15 to 32, Bloemfontein 13 27, Kimberley 16 to 32. Uppington's fine 17 to 29. Cape Town fine with moderate to fresh southerly to southeaster 17 to 29. George is cloudy, some isolated showers and rain this morning, otherwise fine. A light to moderate southeasterly wind. It'll become light to moderate easterly to northeasterly this evening, 16 to 22. Gqeberha is cloudy this morning, 30% chance of light rain, otherwise partly cloudy. A light to moderate southerly to southwesterly wind, 16 to 20. East London, partly cloudy, 30% chance of morning light rain. A moderate southerly to southwesterly wind, 17 to just 19. Durban's cloudy, widespread showers and thunder showers. A moderate southerly to southeasterly wind, 19 to 21. Richards Bay, cloudy, widespread showers and thunder showers. A moderate southerly to southeaster, 19 to 23. Pietermaritzburg starts cloudy. There's widespread showers and thunder showers from a low of 15 to just 18 in Maritzburg.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
All right, let's talk about what's happening in the UK. That's because the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has defended his government's renewed engagement with China, but also warning that Beijing poses national security threats to Britain. Let's find out more with Professor David Monyai. He's the director of the Centre for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. What's happening in the UK when it comes to China? There's conflicting messages?
They are indeed. The two countries seem to disagree on a number. The relationship are often swings economic pragmatism as well as rivalry. The key issue is way to the Hong Kong handover. Uh, the outstanding issues, which China perceives as UK interfering in domestic affairs within Hong Kong itself when it comes to laws, as well as allegation made by Britain um, on human rights issues within China over security issues, as well as technology, the Huawei ban in UK, and they continue on a number of areas. But overall, one would say UK is declining uh, power, while China is right, and therefore Britain can take United States. The president cannot. It's trying to reset and try to get its own back together and bringing it whether following President Donald Trump or setting its own policy.
Tell me about this, the security threats that's been spoken about with this espionage trial, a couple of alleged Chinese spies.
Um, within a parliament in the UK, I think it's um, directives that are on taking a very hard kind of position um, that can drive UK investment. China is building a new embassy, and they all want um, the plan to be public, going against the protocol in certain and Huawei that I've mentioned in a number of other and endless UK media, and there's almost weekly uh, education trying something else that here to UK security according.
Then for the UK, it must be a fine balancing act. If they say it's a security threat, but then they also don't they need China when it comes to economic growth?
UK cannot go on with use from China, one of the investors, and the Prime Minister is preparing to go to China. So it's really indeed a fine balance. On one hand, UK plays along with the development narrative in terms of this China threat, um, whether on South China Sea, working with Japan, Australia, is trying to know what is perceived in China, um, limiting its own development. On the other hand, it really depends what the Prime Minister will do. Domestic politics in the end. Uh,
Prof, it's interesting you say how the UK are following America's lead, and they're not sticking to Europe. Europe seems more China friendly. The leaders, French and German counterparts, have visited China. Why do you think the UK is focusing on the US and not on their European counterparts?
well, there are a number of factors historically. We look first of all the sector and the relationship between UK and Britain. It's quite important. And UK has always been US number one, the most favored nation. Uh, uh, with the president, Mike, at the moment, the current president has put on. He's moving to the Gulf states. Yes, really of it. But for UK, they still want to hold on to that in terms of economy and election in United Nations, as well as a number of other key areas where there's investment. It's really to move forward with whether the UK will continue this or to go back to a more Europe where do not take the position that most countries are trying to take. Don't take that fun.
That's Professor David Monyai, Director for the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, I know you want to talk football, but it's a little birdie told me that Eben Esterbe's punishment's been announced. He's going to have to play for Wales for a year.
He's gonna have to.
Play for Wales for a year. Shame. That's not right. That's punishment's too much.
They've been punishing us for how long now? I
No,
don't understand.
he's not playing for Wales. It's a joke. What's happening?
Oh man. All right. Anyway, that's the verdict for Eben Etzebeth. World Record throwing the book at him. But nevertheless, we want to talk about this man throwing goals, and this is for his team. It was a thunderbolt from Rian Hannemub who sealed that 1-0 derby win for Amazulu over Golden Arrows at the King Zwelithini Stadium in Umlazi. The result lifts Lesotho into third place, with 1 point behind Mamelodi Sundowns heading into the AFCON break. Now, for Coach Arthur Zwane's side, they return in January. That's against CS Galaxy at Moses Mabhida. Arrows, the loss leaves them 10th, 3 points off 8th place Durban City FC. They're back in action on the 20th of January against Kaizer Chiefs at FNB Stadium. Dena Banyana ended their year in style with a 2-0 win over Morocco's women's national football team in Agadir. And Spain's women's national football team defended their Women's Nations League crown with a 3-0 second leg win over Germany's women's national football team, sealing the title after last week's goalless draw. And history for Erling Haaland, the Manchester City striker, becoming the fastest player to reach 100 Premier League goals, doing it in just 111 matches as City edged Fulham 5-4 at Craven Cottage. He smashes the old record that was held by Alan Shearer, who needed 124 games. Meanwhile, Everton edging Bournemouth 1-0. We also bring you rugby, the Golden Lions targeting home playoffs in the ECCR Challenge Cup, with the forward coach Julian Redlinghayes calling Saturday's clash against Benetton Rugby at Ellis Park massive. Now, the Joburg side are buoyed by their URC win over the Bulls, but Benetton thrashed them earlier this season. A reminder that there's no room for mistakes. And more rugby, the Springbok 7 sweeper Ricardo Duarte says, always an honor to play in front of a home crowd as the Blissboks prepare for the HSC 7 Cape tournament. Weekend marks the second stop, the 2025-26 HSC 7 season, which is taking place at the DHL Stadium on Saturday and Sunday.
It's truly excitement. Obviously, we know we owe us a big performance after the performance we had this weekend. But it's always a blessing and a privilege to play in front of your own crowd and your family and your friends.
And that's your sport here on the Morning Brief. We'll look out for more sport. That's around the top of the hour. For SAFM, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has told the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry that the budget for the National Political Killings Task Team beyond 2022 was irregular according to the Public Finance Management Act. Mchunu, who's on special leave, testified there was no extension of the PKTT beyond that year as per the regulations. Police have increased security for the Senzo Mehiwa murder trial proceedings taking place at the High Court in Pretoria. 5 men are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain in Vosloorus, east of Johannesburg. And South Africa's exclusion from this month's 20 Sherpa meeting in the United States means it will be unable to shape or influence important agendas or advance decisions reached at the recent G20 summit in Johannesburg. That's the view of the director of the African Center for the Study of the United States at the University of Pretoria. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Not a bad start on the roads across Gauteng province. Building in the usual places. That includes the Mike 1 from Boysons up to around about Smith Street. The N1 coming through from Eldos up Devlin through Deepcliff. That's busy again this morning. That is just a high volume route these days. Must have been a lot of development down south in terms of sort of housing. It all translates directly to traffic. It really is just a route getting busier by the day through there. If you sit in that traffic, you're probably nodding along. Now, road traffic restrictions, additional ones going in today. From today, weather dependent, might be tomorrow, Cassia Road M13, traffic restrictions there. We'll see all sorts of possible diversions going in. I know you won't, once it goes in, you won't be able to come off the M13 coming from Pinetown or Kloof and turn right off the M13 onto Cassia Road into Hillcrest. That'll be restricted. There will be other sort of restrictions as well. So just be aware of that disruption around Hillcrest starting potentially from today for the next few days. Cape Town, fairly busy Wednesday, particularly if you're on the N2. It's heavy between the airport and the Mowbray Main Road exit. And Eastern Cape area, this is also a high truck collision scene rivaling the N3. We're talking the N10, Craddock Cookhouse, just north of Cookhouse. Another truck crash causing an obstruction this morning. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
And it's good morning, Ntaling Lechela. Sometimes Ntaling sends me she sends me the story so that we know what we're talking about, right? And sometimes they make no sense to me. Like, I'm just going to read this. Anthropic reportedly plans its market debut. I don't know what that means, so tell us.
All right. So basically, Anthropic is planning to go public. So it's planning to list on one of the US's stock exchanges. And this is according to the Financial Times, right? Maybe let me give you a bit of a rundown of what Anthropic does, who Anthropic is. Anthropic is an AI company. It owns the Claude chatbot, which is direct competition to OpenAI's ChatGPT. So the group has begun informal discussions while exploring another major around. In addition, Anthropic has reportedly tapped Wilson Sonsini, a law firm guiding the market as it weighs options. The talks come as Anthropic's valuation continues to storm. Recent investments from Microsoft and Nvidia have implied worth into the 300 to $350 billion range, with 50 noting a possible $15 billion combined commitment from the key tech giants. Now, sources stress, however, listing conversations are at beginning stages and that no timeline has been set as yet. An IPO from Anthropic would place it in direct competition with OpenAI, which has also explored public offering, but says no plans are imminent.
And then Samsung has a new phone, a new phone.
Yes, a new phone, right? They've launched their first multi-folding smartphone dubbed the Galaxy Z Cycle. This move comes as Samsung faces faster innovation cycles from the likes of Huawei and other Chinese manufacturers, while Apple's growing global market share is heightening pressure across Samsung's premium lineup. Analysts say the trifold is unlikely to be a volume driver, but serves as a strategic showcase as rivals ramp up their own foldable offerings. The device includes Samsung's largest flagship and super fast charging, though the company says rising component costs made pricing difficult. Adding to that, analysts noted that the trifold is a first generation product that may still face durability and cost challenges. Now, foldables remain a niche, representing under 2% of smartphone shipments. Despite that, research from Counterpoint shows stronger growth in that segment from next year. Further expect stronger growth from that segment from 2026 as Apple also prepares its first foldable device.
And what's happening in the markets this morning?
Reflecting on how markets closed yesterday, green screens on Wall Street as risk somewhat returned to the table. Expectations of a third rate cut next week really driving sentiment, and this boosting the likes of the Nasdaq and Dow Jones. That optimism, however, not filtering through to the JSE, which closed mostly in the red. The losses were fueled by a decline in precious metals, particularly PGMs, leading to a near 1% decline in the ore share. Meanwhile, in currency markets, the rand remained steady at 17.10 to the greenback. Oil, in the meantime, losing momentum this morning, trading in the red to below $62 a barrel. Then, lastly, in Asia, trade is mixed with investors there waiting on fresh market moves.
Thank you very much, and telling Nichela. More with her in an hour's time.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And it's good morning to Sipho Mantula. Sipho, you touched on the DRC yesterday. More news from the DRC today?
Refreshing morning, John, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. John, there's an escalation of a conflict in the South Kivu, M23, M23, taking government forces. And these are in the areas of Kadoba, Luvungi, Gaziba, Kiviri, Hombo, Kasika, Muwenga. These are the areas, John, where there was an escalation yesterday. That came from the M23 spokesperson, Lawrence Kanyupa, who's representing Simiwa. These are the leaders who have been tension with the government of Kinshasa, John. This that there was a peace framework in Doha in the 8th of November, just last month, John. There is a crisis. You'll recall, M23, the M23 controls North and the South Kivu, including strategic cities like Goma, Bukavu, as well as the two airports of Goma and Kavumu. John, you still have a challenge in the East. Once you don't manage the East, Kinshasa will never hold. That's the Canadian time and Paul Kagame to Washington when the peace is not holding.
And how are the civilians doing there?
Civilians, they are trying, John. What they can do, they know. They've been born in the conflict. One thing that you must know about the government here, they were born out of an injustice in a conflict. And they know it. The same like the South Sudan. That's how Africa has been colonized with this thinking in a sort of way.
Then the Sahel area is getting more and more formal.
Sahel is getting more formal, but this is talking about your identity, the issue of being a national citizen. If Ibrahim Traore, the leader of Faso, became the first island of state to get an identity card, which they are saying will be a card that has got biometric ID card that will last for 10 years. You see, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, traveling. And when you think of this, it's about the issue of traveling, is the issue of security coordination, is the issue also since their departure from ECOWAS, which is ECOEAS now. They are pulling to have their identity. Very important move, John. If one looks, so when you look at their visa regulation, I saw something in Parliament yesterday. African studies very weak and low when it comes to visa regulation. Why they come in as they want, they live as they want, and that's why you have a overflow of money stolen by the West. I don't think in the Sahel they will start to milk and exploit the natural resources. In South Africa, that is maintained by the state.
Speaking of South Africa, the presidency in Mozambique. Tell us more.
Remember, I spoke to you about it Monday, but the president started that meeting. He said Minister Lamola yesterday paved the way for the president. It's expected that the president will visit some of the historic sites. He will visit the business sites. I spoke to you about the inauguration of the domestic interesting, John. The president will visit. It's only the business community, the National Commission meeting, John, is taking place. Expected that both heads of state, they will look over, because South Africa so far with Mozambique, our generation turnover is almost around the $2 billion annually. And when you look also at the cars that are living in Mozambique, legally so, John, not going to go illegally. That's where Mozambique and South Africa are able to make money. I think something from Lamola yesterday, John, where he spoke about our relation with Mozambique, not only a matter of business, also geographically. Also, the role of Samara Machel and people like Oliver Tambo, Miriam Makeba in the land of Samara Machel. That's how we link. with Mozambique. Issue of we have what is called geography of shared goals.
Now you've got two historical archives today. A big day, the 3rd of December.
I had to do that, John, because we have done it before on this show with Killer Caesar when we spoke about one of the what I called I mean, he was born today. I start with birth and go to death. Now, born on this day, he will have been 75 years. Courageous, articulate, sagacious, muntu kamieza, ingelosi yomhlaba. He was born in KwaZulu-Natal to Jacob in Zulumieza. This was a young person who also, John, studied in Soweto, Orlando West, moved them to KwaZulu-Natal to Oshlange High, involved in the Viva Frelimo rallies of Mozambique in the late 70s. So today, Muntu Mieza will have been 75. We're talking about him, John, when he was killed on the 3rd July 1990. But today, we're looking at the of ideology, Yomsaba. Today also passed away, John, 57 years ago, 1988. We have said this is a great man who was a activist, a diplomat of note, the chief representative of the ANC. What Kenneth Kaunda called him an immensely gifted Christianist with the essence of fairness and failing courtesy to the others. He tribute with an immense respect, not only among his comrades, but among other people with respect. Thinking about the Johnston, Tony, Panafut, Pakatini. This is the man who passed away in Zambia, John. He was repatriated, and the reburial of him happened in 2010 in Africa, if you recall, Europe. John Panafuti, one of the loyal assistant ambassador once said to me, John, the OR Tambo building, that is our diplomatic relations headquarters, should have been named after this man, Panafuti Pakatini Johnson. He's a great guy, John, who lived many African countries. His representative, born also in KwaZulu-Natal, but reburied on this day. Passed away, reburied. Asante sana
Sipa Mantula, thanks very much.
I don't love going to school. I don't love sitting in a classroom with 50 other children, but I do love learning. Ndiyakuthanda ukufunda isiXhosa as a language. I do love getting good grades. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 19 December.
This week on BBC Primetime, watching TV could make you a winner. It's the BBC Primetime Watch and Win competition. Just tune into your BBC Primetime shows, answer a few simple questions on S3's TikTok account, and you could walk away with awesome prizes. From thrilling dramas to jaw-dropping reality shows, the more you watch, the more chances you have to win. Watch, answer, win. Only on BBC Primetime. Airs weeknights 9 to 11 p.m. on S3. Your couch just became the best seat in the game.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with Events Liability Insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on Events Liability Insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
6:45, John in for Tulis. Good morning to you. The SADC Parliamentary Forum had its 58th plenary assembly, and Abahlali Basam John Dolo's General Secretary, Tapelo Mahapi, delivered a powerful message about dignity, capability, and climate resilience. Let's talk to Tapelo Mahapi. Tapelo, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell me what you spoke about when it comes to dignity and capability. Interesting topic there.
Yes, good morning, John. Good morning to the listeners. The issue about the climate change has issue that has affected the this 20 we lost more than 300 people lives. So lost about people over 20,000. It was a very good time. I was had to come out because it was the range that I've seen before. And but the issue about climate change has been spoken in a language very high, very difficult for ordinary people to actually be engaged in. And we have said, in fact, people who are marginalized, even from who have said, see alone, people in, of course, recently, last month, lost people in Hanover, in Mfwati municipality. So the people who are affected, also the ones that engage when it comes to this issue of climate change. And our call as well that who are living in informal sectors can also think, can also come up with a resolution that got implemented in order to life to be I mean, prevented from being lost. And therefore, we are calling for government to actually engage us and think and how just be part of the finding stewards of our own lives and development.
That sounds wonderful, and we can talk about that. But aren't we treating the symptom and not the cause here? The fact that there are informal settlements that are being put into dangerous positions because people have to build in low-level areas or in river zones and things.
Yes, we have. In fact, that is one of the issue of land in the country that position has a high effect, but also the issue of climate change. In climate change, people have lost not only property, lost the land as a result of that. Long has eroded this amount in area. So there is an issue when it comes to this. We are saying some instances, of course, there are communities that are very, it comes to being located from the areas that one, of course, they hold sentimental value on the place. Secondly, it's because when they have been relocated, um, of them and in most cases, no longer people 10 years, 20 years, the tin made, houses, those tin over the years get damaged. People become exhausted in those areas. I mean, people who actually died in February, people who were allocated by the national government in that place. So we are saying that making on the ground meaningful and making sure that these relocations take place and by
Yeah, that's
will to resolve the issue.
You're talking about stewards, foot soldiers. So these are people, as you say, that can explain to the community in plain, simple language why building there is a bad idea. And that's got to do with climate change. Explain the climate change is changing the rivers, changing the way the rains are falling.
Yes, we have to make climate change a reality. Climate change is here. It's not something that is coming. Right now, as I speak, the case we have to go to the communities on the ground. We have been proactive working with management, municipality must give credit where it's due. They have been on the ground training young people on this in formal settlement can, serious tasks taking place, how to actually read the weather and how to communicate with it. So we've been having challenges. The weather will communicate weather to the cities and government. That information is communicated properly. I mean, I learned about the life recently because I had to make myself educated as a result of the climate change that we're facing. So that, but for an ordinary citizen, informal settlement, so communicating that language, people would not understand. But also the means of communication. As a one has access to TV is wrong. So we are saying that these two are currently campaign must go to the operators with loud hailers. There is, I mean, just speaking of the early warning sign, has been one of the corridors been very working, has been working very well. We are saying that that pilot project future to other settlements so that it can save more lives.
All right, Tapela Mohapi, we have to leave it there. Bahlali Basam Jondo, start that again. Bahlali Basam Jondolo's General Secretary joining us here on SAFM. It's 9 minutes to 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very extreme conditions yesterday with a big storm that moved through Pietermaritzburg, and we are in that season. So just please, as we've been saying, pay attention to those forecasts. Really, it can be a life-threatening what we saw yesterday around parts of KZN. Very dangerous. Joburg this morning, the N1 coming up through from the Devlin down through Deepcliff into Uncle Charlie's. Busy again this morning. The N3 North piled up into Buccleuch. That's the ongoing, never-ending roadworks. That'll be a delay all day now. N3 North into Buccleuch only really eases at about 6 p.m. In the evening. A lot of changes going in around Cassia Road, Hillcrest side at the M13 from today. At some point today, I think maybe a little bit later this afternoon, there'll be some movement of traffic from the old bridge. This is the Cassia M13 system. From the old bridge onto the new bridge. It'll restrict some ramps. It'll have you diverting if you go from Kloof and you want to come off the M13 onto Cassia and turn to Hillcrest. You won't be able to do that. I think you'll have to go further out and then turn back Shongweni or somewhere and then come back. So just be aware that it's all about to unfold from today over the next couple of days. Durban's N2 North, M7 up to Westwood Mall stays really badly backed up. Cape Town this morning looks like a high volume Wednesday with traffic on the N1 sitting from the Belleville Road or the Durban Road exit at Belleville all the way through to the Sable Road exit. The N2 busy at Khayelitsha, busy, heavier than normal this morning from the airport through towards Mowbray Main, and the M5 Chock-a-Block coming through from Ottery. Big volumes there going slow towards Cuba. Get a change. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
5 teams, 1 epic journey. No flights, no smartphones, just grit, maps, and pure determination. Race Across the World Season 3 is back, and the stakes have never been higher. From bustling cities to remote villages, who will conquer the chaos and cross the finish line first? Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Yes.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to WeBuyCars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy prams that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. WeBuyCars, geared for family, geared for you.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
This was a little worrying when it first appeared in front of me today. There's some good news. KwaZulu-Natal's festive season safety blitz has already arrested 66 motorists for drink driving since Friday night alone. There is this intensity and an increase from the national police, and they're arresting drink drivers. But there is a warning. Driving under the influence can leave you not only behind bars, but also facing financial devastating insurance claim rejections. Find out about these rejections with Edith Texera McKinnon, lead ombud for the division of the National Financial Ombud Scheme. Edith, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, drink driving means that my insurance falls away, does it?
It means that you will not be able to claim, or if you do claim, your claim will be rejected for your own vehicle damage as well as any damage that you may cause to another vehicle or someone else's property. That's what it could mean. Of course, the insurer bears the onus of proving that on a balance of probabilities.
Let's talk about that proof, because it's not necessarily just breathalyzer or blood tests.
No, the insurer may rely on various forms of other evidence, including the evidence of witnesses at the scene who came into contact with the insured driver, and it could mean also evidence such as the driver's whereabouts prior to the incident, vehicle tracking devices, cell phone records, bank statements confirming that the driver purchased alcohol, video footage, even of the accident and how it took place. There is a lot of other evidence that insurers can rely on.
See, to me, breathalyzer or blood tests are black and white. You either have alcohol in your blood or you don't. These other things have a little gray area because I might have been buying drinks for my mates.
Absolutely. And that's why we look at this evidence very carefully. We don't just take the insurer's word for it, even in the interviewing of witnesses. Did they really demonstrate that the driver was under the influence, or were leading questions posed to these witnesses? So we scrutinize this evidence very carefully before we do uphold a rejection on this basis.
One claim was upheld saying that the driver just reeked of alcohol. That was an excuse.
Yes. So obviously that is not going to be sufficient. And in that particular matter, we actually listened to the conversations. And in that case, the loss adjuster appointed by the insurer was asking the witness leading questions, presupposing the answers that they were looking for or hoping to achieve in rejecting the claim. But of course, if, as in another case, the driver was admitted into hospital and the attending doctor notes, makes a note on the records that that individual was heavily under the influence, we will take that kind of evidence very seriously in making our decision.
So, I mean, let's take a step back. It's the middle of the night. I'm a designated driver, for example. I'm stone cold sober, and now the insurance is starting to claim that I was drinking. What should be the first thing I do?
The first thing, obviously, is maintain your version of the events. Don't change them for any reason, because change in version could also mean that the insurer then relies on another exclusion in the policy, which is that you didn't provide true and complete information. And just maintain your ground. And if the claim ends up being rejected, you're not happy that the insurer you're not happy with the rejection, you obviously can escalate it within the insurer, and that is always the first course of action. And then still not satisfied, you obviously have recourse to an ombudsman system.
You mentioned that incomplete information. What else? What are other grounds? I see one of the things listed here is leaving the accident scene.
Yes. So many of these policies contain a provision that if you unlawfully leave the scene of an accident, so unlawfully means in terms of the law, and in terms of the law, if you've been involved in an accident and there is damage or there are bodily injuries, you're not supposed to leave the scene until certain details have been exchanged between the parties. And what we do come across is drivers that don't do that and that immediately leave the scene of the accident, which creates the suspicion that obviously you're trying to hide the fact that you were under the influence. So there is that provision, but again, it must be unlawfully leaving the scene. And the insurer must have other evidence which leads one to suspect that the driver was under the influence, or alternatively, in some way or another, prejudice the insurer's validation of the claim.
So the solution, Edith, is hang around, write every single thing down if you possibly can, take as many photographs as you can, take video if you can.
Yes, absolutely. If you can, that's first prize that is direct evidence, and we would definitely consider all of the evidence desirable.
Fascinating. And thank you very much, Edith Texera McKinnon, lead ombud for the division of the National Financial Ombud Scheme. You're with SAFM. Coming up after the news, there is disgruntlement amongst the electorate. 46% in 2021 of South Africa have decided not to vote. Only 49% of eligible voters will be willing to vote if an election were held now. 86% of potential abstainers cite disillusionment. We'll find out why after the news at 7 o'clock.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Mkhunu says funding PKTT beyond 2022 was irregular and security measures set to increase at the Senzo Meyiwa trial. Good morning. Police Minister Senzo Mkhunu has told the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry that the budget for the National Political Killing Task Team beyond 2022 was irregular, according to the Public Finance Management Act. Mkhunu, who's on special leave, testified there was no extension of the PKTT beyond that year as per the regulations. He was defending his decision to disband the Political Killing Task Team in December last year.
What I'm explaining here is that the National Political Killings Task Team was a project. It had a project leader. It was not a unit in SAPS, and it had no budget allocated, but budget had to be found from other programs, even during extensions to fund it. And it had a clear objective, and it had to be subjected to regular assessments, and costs had to be calculated.
Police have increased security in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial proceedings taking place at the High Court in Pretoria. 5 men are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain in Vosloorus, east of Johannesburg. Proceedings were halted yesterday after police received intelligence about a group of individuals attending the trial with the intention to eliminate some officials. Police then removed 3 individuals from the courtroom and took them in for questioning. National Police spokesperson Ethlenda Mate says the individuals were questioned and later released.
We have received solid intelligence that there are a group of individuals who attend the Senzo Meyiwa trial proceedings with the sole purpose of looking for an opportunity to target certain officials that are working on this particular case. We have seized electronic devices to corroborate our evidence, and our teams are busy analyzing these gadgets. We know that it was targeted at the judiciary, at some of the court officials, at some of the prosecutors and some of the members of the investigating teams.
A suspect has been arrested in connection with the murder of a 77-year-old Limpopo farmer. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says one suspect is still at large. The suspects allegedly assaulted and killed the farmer on Saturday. His wife was also assaulted and tied up. She survived the attack. Lidwaba says investigations are continuing.
Police and neighboring farmers responded immediately, and upon arrival, they found the 77-year-old victim still tied and lying unconscious. Emergency medical services personnel declared him dead at the scene. He was identified as Atimani. Several items were reportedly stolen during the attack, including a firearm and undisclosed amount of money. The arrested suspect will appear before Sinovarani Magistrate Court on Wednesday, 3rd December 2025. A search for the second suspect is ongoing.
The Public Service and Administration Department says it's working hard to eliminate ghost workers. The department has outlined key reforms aimed at strengthening integrity, accountability and ethical governance across the public service. Public Service and Administration Deputy Minister Pinky Kekana says while only 0.44% of foreign nationals are hired in the public service because of their scarce skills, they will always prioritize South Africans.
So what we have done through Minister Buthelezi was that individual departments should take charge and make sure that all public servants do verification process in their own departments. There are timelines linked to that. By end of this financial year that we are in, meaning around March, we should be able to have cleared some of those things. So Minister will from time to time talk to his colleagues through a circular, and we are not going to wait until the end of March.
And finally, the director of the African Center for the Study of the United States at the University of Pretoria, Christopher Isike, says South Africa's exclusion from this month's 20 Sherpa meeting in the US means it will be unable to shape or influence the important agendas or advance decisions reached at the recent summit held in Johannesburg. International Relations has reiterated that as a founding member, South Africa's commitment to the G20's principles and framework remains steadfast. The two countries are at odds over a range of domestic and foreign policies. Recapping the top story, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has told the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry that the budget for the National Political Killings Task Team beyond 2022 was irregular according to the Public Finance Management Act. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes trying to fix the office printer or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2025 Hyundai Exter, 65-year-old Helena now pays only 398 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Haval H6 4x4, 50-year-old Priya pays just 1,178 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sport headlines. Rugby, no word yet on Ibn Expert's fate following yesterday's hearing and the potential ban which could reshape both the Sharks season and next year's Fox land. South cricket, Proteas captain Themba Bavuma saying South Africa's next generation is stepping up. They prepare for a must-win ODI win against India today. Details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. We started Pretoria with some delays, just building on the N1 South, coming through from Stormful down through the N4 Emilafleni split and on towards Linwood Road. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. Joburg's N1 from Devlin through Dimpcliff down Uncle Charlie's. Busy again this morning. N3 North jam-packed running into the roadworks at Buccleuch. That's going north southbound, jamming up on the run through to the works at London Road as well. Durban's N2, the queue into Westwood Mall area, backing back towards the M7 highway. Truck on its side on Town Hill if you're leaving Pietermaritzburg, left lane closure on your way through Town Hill towards Hilton, and a pretty high volume Wednesday around Cape Town. The R300's under pressure from Delft right up towards the N1. The N1 from Durban Road queues down to Sable Road. And the M5's got some traffic pressure this morning from Southfield Parkwood. You'll see in traffic all the way through to the M1. Kuba, get a change. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, John in for Tulis this morning. He should be back tomorrow. Hopefully he's back tomorrow. I was just listening to Zai talking about the cricket there. I read a report there might be rain around. So we'll hold thumbs that we get play and not it turns into one of those farcical one-day international matches where there's just a few overs played. So hopefully there's plenty cricket. Go the Proteas. Coming up in this half hour, we're going to hear from our reporter, Kenny Mapanga. She's been watching the Madlanga Commission. Yesterday was suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who gave a statement. Didn't face a lot of questioning yesterday. So that's coming up later this week, because Brigadier Mkhwanazi will be on the stand today. We'll hear from that later on. Then also there is this question about the Employment Equity Act and the reporting requirements. How do you classify the race of people in South Africa? There are no statutory criteria, there are no definitions, there are no guidelines. We'll talk to the National Manager of the National Employers Association of South Africa about that. Big financial issues happening in Mzimduzi. That's Pietermaritzburg, that sort of area. There's big financial issues there. And then there's this change in the driver's license system. You might have heard this, that it's now suggested that the driver's license will last for 8 years instead of the current 5 years, which is going to alleviate a lot of issues, but it also might cut back in financing for municipalities. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of that. As always, phone lines open, 086 000 2032. You can send us a WhatsApp on 0614 104 107. Leave a voice note, please, short and sharp if you can, on 0614 104 107. It's 10 past 7.
SAFM is streaming live Now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
We have a problem with the electorate in South Africa. Political parties and the Electoral Commission facing a difficult road ahead of these next local government elections. They're scheduled between November next year and through to January. Participation steadily declining. Public trust in democratic institutions is weakening. Masego Seburi is the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer of the Electoral Commission of South Africa. Some worrying numbers coming through, Masego. South Africans just giving up on voting?
Indeed, the decline in the rate of participation is worrying. Good morning, John. If you consider that the rate of participation by citizens is one of the indicators of the health of a democracy, with each election, there has been a decline, particularly in local government elections. And there's a category of reasons that voters give for not wanting to participate. The first is administrative hurdles or burdens. We take responsibility for those, and working with state partners, we should eliminate those. Those may relate to people reporting that they could not get identification document. We work with the Department of Home Affairs to ensure that they are open when we run voter registrations, that they are open on voting day to assist people with identity documents. Similarly, on our part, we must do increasingly more to locate our voting stations properly, make sure that there's physical access to the station, but more importantly, make sure that there's access to the vote. That category of administrative burden has come down with each election. It was at 21% in 2008. The self-report by voters is 10% in the last election. So we're making inroads on that aspect. However, worrying is that people do not participate, not because only of administrative difficulties. The bulk of the people who do not participate or do not intend to participate indicate disillusionment with the democratic process, and there's a number of reasons that they prefer. So that they provide is their reason for disillusionment. On our part, we not think that is apathy. We think as a state we could do more for people to see that there are democratic dividends, and that way they will continue to be invested with democracy as a preferred method of government.
The big issue here is falling trust in the government. These stats are amazing. In 20 years, trust in national government has fallen from 67 to 26%, local government 53 to 25%. That's a huge drop.
It's a huge drop. And if you consider that those are key political governance structures, if you add political parties, the trust even is even worse. And because of that, and when people lose trust in the political system, their sense of discernment weakens. So because they distrust the government structures, they distrust political parties, it also extends to distrust in the Electoral Commission. And so if you do not trust a body that runs elections, you are unlikely to heed their messaging, however positive, to come out and participate.
Where does voter education fall? Is that on the IEC or the political parties? Or the media, or the media in general, or the society in general, to explain how important voting is?
Voter education is very important. It falls on all of us. We take the responsibility, principally as a permanent electoral commission, to deal with those things. But increasingly, what we get from voters is that the voting system in South Africa is very simple. We know how to make an X. We know how to vote. The issue is not voter education. The issue is the substantive of a democracy, because from the research that we've done, we know a number of things. One, the intention to vote or not to vote is shaped by people's beliefs. External factors like voter education may shape that belief, but the belief is already there. Secondly, people measure the success otherwise of a political system by their own circumstances. So you could do voter education, but if they think that voter education will not alter their circumstances, they are likely not to participate in an election. And what we know thirdly is that when under pressure or uncertain, people withdraw into the safety of the knowns of a family, of church, a tribe, and those type of things, and they are likely to form collaborative efforts. So the key thing is that all of us have a role, but also people must see that there is value in participating in a democracy.
Masego Shiburi, thank you very much. Deputy Chief Electoral Officer of the Electoral Commission of South Africa. Are you going to vote? If you're not going to vote, let me know why. You heard Masego explaining some of the reasons he thinks. They've done the research. Do you agree with him? Is that the reason you're not going to vote 26, 27? Let us know. It's 7:15.
Don't delay the fun. Fly into summer with FlySafair, Africa's most on-time airline, and land right on schedule to start your holiday. With our consistent on-time arrivals, we'll get you to family, friends, and good times even faster. From local hotspots and beyond to Mauritius, Zanzibar, Zim, and Namibia, you have so much choice on where to soak up the sun. Time's ticking. Get to flysafair.co.za now and book those holiday flights fast. FlySafair, for the love of flying.
Spurs are counting on the value of 3 points to find a decent position in the top half.
And Richarlison has just tried to lock David Ryan. Wow, that is extraordinary from Richarlison.
Meanwhile, the Bees want to brighten the day of their fans with a good win.
Jensen opens it up for the day. It's Brentford's day. For the third time in 4 seasons.
This is the Premier League. Experience the hot contest between Tottenham Hotspur FC and Brentford FC. The Saturday, 6 December at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Don Gerika on SAFM.
Craig just sent me a picture on the WhatsApp saying it's a perfect day for cricket in Naya Raipur. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's a 5% chance of rain according to the latest update that Craig sent me. Perfect day, 25 degrees. It looks lekker. So hopefully plenty cricket between South Africa and India today. Right, let's talk about what's happening in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. It was Senzo Mchunu who was there yesterday, suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Before we get to that, Kenny Mapanga, there was a bit of a dressing down from the evidence leader on that first witness. Tell us what happened there. That was fascinating to watch.
Indeed. Good morning to you, John, and to the listeners. We did see Dr. Imogen Mashazi, the former Kurleni city manager, wrap up her testimony yesterday before the Madlanga Commission. Of course, a number of concessions were made, but it seemed that she seemingly appeared to struggle with the fact that as the city manager, she would have been the final authority. So it's not appropriate to pass it back to various HODs whenever she was confronted with various irregularities and illegalities made allegedly by Brigadier Mkhwanazi during his tenure, and when she appointed him as acting chief or acting police chief of the MPD. But that was not the biggest issue that she was called out on. Remember yesterday she tried to weaponize sexual harassment charges against Chief Mapier, that is a now suspended actual EMP chief, who's actually answering to those claims now. The evidence leader pointed out that because she made such a serious allegation of rape against the suspended police chief, and she pointed out, she brought out the charge sheet and said that that charge doesn't actually even exist on the charge sheet. So meaning it has been removed, meaning that there is no claim to that effect. And of course, she struggled with taking accountability for the fact that she had essentially weaponized this case in order to throw mud towards the MPD chief who had testified about her and the manner in which she allegedly shielded Brigadier Mkhwanazi in this reign of terror, which was accompanied by alleged gross criminality within the city of Ekurhuleni. She even included, she went to the extent of including confidential medical reports of the actual victims and putting it in the commission statement in order to, I guess, throw mud at the individual. And that was a difficult, I guess, thing for the commission to deal with, because what Mashazi is there to answer to, John, is whether or not she allowed this level of criminality to thrive within the municipality. And if she was to break then shield Brigadier Mkhwanazi from accountability. It wasn't about whether or not these people also have cases to answer to, and using it as an opportunity to not only weaponize that case, but also to run the risk of re-traumatizing a victim in order to achieve an ulterior purpose towards people who had, I guess, testified negatively about her before the commission.
I know I'm going to ask you to do this quickly, unfortunately, Kani Mapanga. What
Mm.
did suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu say yesterday?
Well, fortunately, John, we can't do it quickly because the testimony is still short. But essentially, he's adopted a strategic route by trying to turn his decision from that of an administrative one by laying the foundation of the fact that the people political intervention, which means that it was not taken in terms of the SAF legislation. Because remember, we already heard evidence that he had committed overreach allegedly, and that he had no power to disband and, of course, implement how that disbandment would be taken. Of course, that evidence will continue on Thursday, but however, Tito Vekuruleni is back in focus this morning as Brigadier Mkhwanazi, who is tangled in a web of dark allegations, will have to answer this morning regarding the kind of environment that he allegedly created.
Look forward to seeing that today. Kani Mapanga, thank you very much. SABC reporter keeping a close eye on the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
22 minutes past 7. Employers have raised significant concerns to the Director General of the Department of Employment and Labour regarding the Employment Equity Act reporting requirements. This is the obligation to racially classify employees in the absence of any statutory criteria, definitions, or guidelines. Let's talk to the National Manager of the National Employers Association of South Africa, Jaco Swart. Jaco, if you can, morning to you. Take us back a little bit. Why would one have to racially classify employees?
Good morning. Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, around about April, this says, in about 1980, the Employment Act was implemented. Kind of forced employers with threshold of turnover or number of employees in the employ to implement employment equity measures. Around about April this year, the minister gazetted target specific economy, stating that each employer in a specific needs service make up based on the racial demographic. And in order to do that, employers are expected to now classify employees in race, either black, white, Indian, or colored. So what the regulation stipulates is that employees can self-classify on an EA1 form, and they can indicate their race and their gender. But then the regulation says that if the employer refuses to self-classify, it's right, or if the employer believes that the incorrect classification, then the employer must classify. But there are no guidelines, criteria, whatsoever in the regulation act how we must use it. Which makes it quite difficult to check that. In the past, during the apartheid era, they had this main race forward, which that's appealed. Now government wants to cascade, but it's private out to
So
it's a simple question.
It's up to you to say to look at a potential staff member and go, are you a black African? Are you colored? Are you Indian? And if they refuse to answer, which as you say is their right, you just have to make it up.
Exactly. You have to guess that. I don't know what to look at. You look at, I don't know, color, tone, what do you look at? So we wrote to the director for a state of tried our best by 15 January. Tried our best to do it. Don't know if it's correct. Please give us guidance as what criteria we are supposed to use. And they just came back saying, well, permissive to racially classify without answering the question and saying you need historical and current data without telling us about it. So, we're in the predicament of having a legislative obligation without having any guidance about it.
So does that mean that any of these forms, any of these employment equity reporting requirements just fall away because they're kind of just made up?
Well, they don't fall away. You are forced to do it. There are massive penalties involved if you do not comply. The employers don't have a choice but simply race employees. Um,
But they could be making it up.
otherwise, it will get
Making it up because John here could
they're making it up.
John here could say I'm a black African, and they go, all right, then we might as well just fill
Absolutely.
out the form.
And exactly. And on what basis must I then say, well, they're not? And that's the prediction. We have to make a choice. Um, now, if we do not do that, you cannot complete the work, which is how you currently live. You can't do that. You can't do your plan. You can't do anything. You've got fines ranging from or starting from 2% to 1.5 million rand of turnover. Going ranges up to 10%. That's massive. So employers don't have an option to buy with.
You've raised this issue, Jaco. You've raised this issue now. Are you getting anything back at all?
No, like I said, the response was simply mutually permissible and used historical and current law. We don't know what that is.
Keep a close eye on that. Jaco Swart, thank you very much. National Manager of the National Employers Association of South Africa brings us to 7:26.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, morning, and waiting for the waiting game for Eben.
Yep, it's a bit like hurry up and wait. I think we're all waiting, but I think the way the Boks have been treated, some of us are even preempting what's going to be. But yes, Springbok locked Eben Exodus still waiting to learn his fate after appearing before World Rugby following the eye gouge incident in that 73 win over Wales was the Welsh National Rugby Union team in Cardiff. Now, the incident involved the Welsh flank, Alex Mann, late in the match. The sanctions for contact to the eye can range from 4 weeks up to a year, but his previously clean record across 141 tests for the Springboks could work in his favour, so a verdict is expected later today. More rugby and it's Springbok keeper Ricardo Duarte is saying always an honour to play in front of a home crowd as the Blitzboks prepare for the HSC 7th Cape Town tournament. Now they have been handed a challenging pool for the Cape Town leg, open against Dubai champions New Zealand, followed by Fiji, who beat them 28-10 last Saturday before closing the day against Britain. South Africa will be aiming to improve on their fifth place finish in Dubai as they chase momentum on home soil this weekend.
Yeah, Cape Town is like a very, very special place for us. It can't really compare to any other stadium in the world. And yeah, like I said, we owe us a special performance after this weekend's performance in Dubai.
Meanwhile, the Proteas ODI captain Themba Bavuma says he's excited by a new generation Proteas pushing hard towards the 2027 Cricket World Cup. South Africa faced India in the second ODI. Raipur this morning, 10 a.m. after a 17-run defeat in the series opener. Bavuma returns from illness to a batting group boosted by the form of Matthew Britzer, Marco Jansen, and Corbin Bosch. He says the side's versatility and depth across the format is giving the selectors real options. That's for the future. So that's really an exciting time for the Boks there. Also, we'll bring you news with regards to what's happening locally in soccer. We saw some exciting action yesterday. It was brilliant to go down to Durban and AmaZulu there closing out that 2025 Betway Premiership campaign. 1-0 was their victory over Golden Arrows at King Zwelithini Stadium in Mlazi. Lifting Lesotho into third place on the table, just a point behind Mamelodi Sundowns coach. And then Coach Arthur Zwane's side will resume their league campaign on the 25th of January. They'll host CS Galaxy Moses Mabhida Stadium. For Arrows, the defeat leads 10th in the standing, 3 points adrift of 8th place Durban City. Now, Coach Mango Magniti's men turn to action on the 20th of January against Kaizer Chiefs at FNB Stadium. Meanwhile, Banyana Banyana closed out 2025 in style with a 2-0 victory over Morocco in Agadir. So great news for Banyana there. And Erling Haaland has written his name into Premier League history, becoming the fastest player to reach 100 goals. And Everton snapped a narrow 1-0 win over Bournemouth. All happened at the Vitality Stadium, ending the host's unbeaten run. And finally, motorsport. Red Bull believes they have unearthed another teenage star in Arvid Lindblad. The Briton, who also holds a Swedish passport and has Indian heritage through his mother, turned 18 in August and will make his Formula One debut in Australia on the 8th of March. Lindblad will be one of 5 drivers in F1 history, with only Max Verstappen, Lance Stroll, and Kimi Antonelli starting younger. They start them young, you know what they say. I'm Zai Khan. We'll have more sport top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, suspended Ekurhuleni Acting Police Chief Brigadier Julius Mkwanazi is expected to respond to allegations levelled against him at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. Brigadier Mkwanazi has been implicated in the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Blue Light saga. A man from Guguletu on the Cape Flats has died after being shot multiple times last night. Police say the motive for the shooting is sketchy at this stage. And there are reports of heavy fighting in southern central Sudan between the army and rival paramilitary rapid support forces. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning, Joburg. First up, the N1 fairly slow this morning. If you're coming from Soweto, wanting to get through the four ways, there's traffic at Deepcliff Interchange. And then from Soweto through Gordon Road, there's more queuing pressure. And then from Bayers, Nordia, right the way round to almost to Rivonia before you're out of that traffic. Breakdown on the N3 North at Van Buren. Delays coming through from the Ilans Interchange side this morning. The N1 South coming through from Pretoria, not too bad. A little bit of traffic through Midrand, Old Joburg Road down to New Road. You might find that, although busy, a little bit easier than normal. Solomon Mshlangu queuing up out of Mamelodi as you run down towards the N4 highway. Durban side, the N2 North, the latest there is traffic sitting from the M7 up to Westwood Mall. Southbound, there is a breakdown at Spaghetti Junction, so delays coming through from Umgeda Road. Some pressure with a crash scene near Market Road coming out of Pietermaritzburg. That is slow on your way through towards Ashburton. And Cape Town, really busy. The R300 from Delft up towards the N1 highway, slow. The M5, the other busy highway this morning from sort of Plumstead, Parkwood area. Traffic all the way through to Kuberg at a change. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Momentum is part of the Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. But my toaster isn't broken exactly. It just lands my toast on the kitchen floor. You see, some things only kinda never work. Like a financial plan based on generic advice. That's why Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to understand you and only then apply their expertise. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The business update on SAFM.
And it's good morning once again to Ntauling Lechela. Good morning to you, Ntauling. What's happening in the business markets today? Sorry, I've got to get my notes here. The local economy expanding. That's good news. We're going to talk about that later as well.
Really, really good news. The economy has actually logged a fourth consecutive quarter of growth, expanding 0.5% in the third quarter. Now, while softer than the second quarter, 0.9%, outcome matched forecast. Growth was broad-based, with 9 of 10 industries posting gains, led by mining, agriculture, and trade. Now, a standout was the rebound in long-term investment. Gross fixed capital formation rose 1.6%, first reading in over a year, driven by transport equipment purchases, machinery upgrades, new school buildings, government fleet replacement. Economists warn that investment is still far below what's required to raise potential growth, but the turnaround after 3 quarters of contraction signals that corporates may finally be loosening the grip on record cash reserves. Electricity was the main drag, only industry that recorded losses, contracting 2.5%. Though this increasingly reflects structural shift as households and firms generate their own power, with more than 1,300 renewable projects registered since 2023. Energy transition is emerging as one of the economy's most dynamic.
It might be increasing, but small businesses are worried about the climate?
Yep, Yep, according to ABSA's latest Small Business Growth Index, South Africa's SMEs are showing signs of resilience but not recovery. Biannual survey found that only 38% more firms believe they can survive the next year, months that is, without external support. Pretty much similar to the 40% recorded half of the year. The overall index is up to 51.5, keeping the operating environment firmly in the vulnerable category. The report, which is based on the survey of more than 2,100 businesses, shows that operational stability has improved slightly. Post-pandemic scarring, liquidity shortages, and rising input costs continue to undermine sustainability. More than 40% of firms remain in financial distress, often relying on overdrafts to manage payroll and supplier payments. With small businesses, of course, being a major employer in the economy, the study warns that persistent pressure on the segment poses broader economic risks, which may underline the growth we currently see.
And what's happening in the markets? Am I seeing mixed markets this morning?
Pretty much in Asia, trade is choppy with investors eyeing fresh catalysts. The Japanese Nikkei is up 1.6%, while the Hong Kong Hang Seng heads 0.9%. And then over in Wall Street, are in positive territory. Investors, they're awaiting PCE figures, which is the Fed's preferred inflation measure. Coming back home, trade was downbeaten yesterday with the JSE closing in red back on falling prices. All shares shed close to 1%. Moving over to currencies now, the rand pretty steady at 17.92 the grain, really benefiting from a soft dollar. Action in oil markets not as upbeat, though, with prices slipping a quarter of a cent to $61.57.
Very much in Talang Latela. More with her in an hour's time.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Take some calls. We'll play a couple of voice notes as well. Let's start with, is it Dwayiswa? You want to talk about the Madlanga Commission days? Dwayiswa, go ahead.
Yes, good morning to you, John, and the SFM listeners. Let me take this opportunity to apologize. Yesterday, while I was on air, I put up that unexpectedly. So
All right, go ahead.
Quickly, I just to sum up the whole testimony by Mama Shazi with three words: arrogant, ignorant, and taking from Sisketi opening remarks yesterday, lack of wisdom. But my take today is that she misled the commission and the country in the process. She was telling the commissioner's chairperson that during the interviews with regard to which was processing the extension of police chief, the police chief Makiaye, there are no records of that interview for that interview process. That is a lie. That is misleading. John, you know, from my experience, the interview panel on its own, and it's a norm. I'm sure otherwise it varies. I'm sure it varies.
What
But
experience? What experience have you got?
The panel, John, is made of, firstly, importantly, the chairperson of the interview process, the secretary. The secretary is shown the responsibility to take the records of the processing. So there's just no way that there are no records of that interview process. And of course, there will be scorers and timekeepers and the rest. So that's precisely why I'm saying misled the country. She lied.
It must either then what are you saying? Either the records are destroyed or they will come out at some point.
No, they have to come up because there are records. Records are there. She was just like trying to put it around as when she's been doing for the past 4 days during her testimony.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Dwayiswa, thank you very much. Lebo is in Bloemfontein. You want to talk about voting, Lebo? Do you vote?
Good morning, John. The last time I voted was
before the previous.
Mhm.
I decided not to election. Precisely because I have really noticed that voting by people things who are going to be in and not bring about necessary change of the town. People who are going to have this, they are now and familiar.
Mhm.
So this is actually a setup. I view this as setup, and my principle is that anyway, whether I vote or not vote, I vote on.
Is life going on the way you want it to be?
Come again, please, John.
Is life going on the way you want it to be?
Even if I vote, it doesn't go on the way that I want it to be.
All right. That's Lebo's views on voting. What do you make of that? 086 000 2032. Tsepo in Winterveld. You want to talk about the Mchunu issue? What's happening?
Yeah, I want to speak about the Mkhuni issue, but not directly about the Mkhuni issue, about what other departments are actually learning about what's happening.
Okay, go ahead.
Like he was not using his deputy effectively, and then they were also in the dark about other decisions. And that also speaks to what's happened in the Department of Health. I mean, like nationally, they're speaking about making the NHI, but then provincially, you see like what happened in Tembisa. I wonder if like these people can speak to each other. These departments can speak to each other, having a minister speaking to the MECs of every province, and then trying to find out ideas, and then also like them when they're in a group, maybe like saying, okay, this plan is working for this province, maybe we can also like effect it so that we can push the national agenda. But then that's my concern. It's like everybody's doing whatever they want, someone, and then nobody's accountable for that.
Well, let's hope that's the point of these commissions, right? Let's hope that the commission will give recommendations based on what you're seeing, Tsepo, and they can say, well, actually, we need to have more communications. Everybody needs to talk to each other and be more open about things. Let's see if that comes out. All right. Tsepo, thank you very much. In Winterveld, let's take a couple of voice notes. 0614 104 107.
Gore, you see the unfair part of the accident with a drunk driver. They are saying, or she's saying, they may reject both the person who's drunk's claim and the person they involved with. How can the person be punished for somebody who's drunk? It can't be. There's collective punishment here. They must punish the person who is drunk, but the insurance of the person who is not drunk should fix the car and seek liability from the other person. It can't be. No. This upset. It should not be accepted.
Morning. Yeah, this insurance thing of alcohol is crazy because I've seen claims where someone was rejected because they bought a bottle of wine a few days before an accident. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, where does the Poppy Act fall in with regards to this? Insurance companies just find an excuse to decline claims. I mean, I've also seen one where a family member was interviewed and they asked the family member, does he drink? And then he said yes, just innocently answering, and then the claim was rejected. So I don't believe this notion that the insurance companies are just doing this to protect themselves. They are actually targeting people. Eddie from Centurion.
Good morning, John and SFM listeners. You know, on the side, I'm not yet sure if I'm going to vote or not because determines whether I vote. There's one, the political party that I vote for, put someone that I trust there to be the leader of the political party. Like, for instance, in last general elections, I voted for the party that I voted for, which is the ANC, simply because Ramaphosa was
Good morning on SAFM. I think IEC must also up its game and improve its integrity and avoid situations where voters doubt the election results. I'm Bafana Kumalo in Memi.
Some of your voice notes. We'll take more voice notes and calls later on. It's 7:45.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
Mzunduzi's municipality has had troubled finances. They've been under a voluntary financial recovery plan for a few years now. In case you don't know where Mzunduzi is, it's Pietermaritzburg. Anthony Volhausen is co-founder and chairperson of the Mzunduzi Association of Residents, Ratepayers and Civics. Anthony, good morning to you. The financial recovery plan not going as planned.
Hi, yes, unfortunately not. It's been over 2 years that the recovery plan has been implemented, and they are in a dire financial situation at the moment.
It was supposed to be 6 to 8 months. It's gone on for 3 years. What's happening?
Yeah, well, I think that the challenge we have is the competencies of the management, not to the actual recovery plan as have actually agreed. Major challenges we have at the municipality now in the situation is because of the actual interference of political interference, projects that are unskilled, unqualified, are actually not to find actual good quality of services as well as with the finances.
You say that, but the mayor is maintaining that it's on an upward trajectory, the municipality, and is committed to continuing and the good work.
Well, that's what they always say to us, and we always have in the same situation. I mean, we've vast years with quite a lot of other interventions from the President Proctor and other interventions, but nothing comes out of it.
What is the solution to the problem then?
Well, I think what is needed here is the residents need to proactive engagement with the municipality. Also, what is needed as more than ever is to hold them accountable because we as ratepayers are paying for the services which is very poor, and we need to hold them accountable. And I think we tried everything of the intervention. It's time that to as residents we have to change it ourselves, and I think that things will come 2026. We have the level
Part of the problem that you've raised or your organization has raised is this uneven revenue collection. Explain that.
Well, the thing is that this is where we don't understand. We've actually asked the municipality actual information of what is the actual revenue that is being collected. But I think media report, we have 80% of residents, some government departments are to revenue, but 70% are not towards treatment, and that are actually not on towards the at all. Revenue then the situation is smiling.
Is it time for the city to be put under administration?
Well, it's been done fast already. I mean, what we actually are having the actual Minister of Pakistan to place it under 1395 of the section with the national actually comes in and intervenes and plays oversight with managing the finances of the municipality. So what they should have done initially the first time when they went to the to invoke section 139C, which was to dissolve the council and have an independent administrative come in to sort out the and have re-elections and have anything else. But also the problem we also have as well too is which is not managed well also at the council level where they actually making the decision.
Anthony, you mentioned elections. Can the city manage to wait that long? It's still a year away.
Well, I think this is where we need to, from civil society, needs to put pressure on especially the government factor. And we were actually disappointed by the image of Proctor to take the municipality out of administration of this. We believe it was a political decision and not based on the current reality on the ground, what has happened to municipalities. So this is where we as society really need to come out and really on the municipal government. Really, we cannot. I mean, all the interventions that are put in place can step, and we as also civil society need to be that open our dollars, have a say in running.
Anthony Voltzhausen, thank you very much from the Mzimbuzi Association of Residents, Ratepayers and Civics.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Let's have a look at capital city, Pretoria. A couple of issues. One on the run out from Mamelodi this morning. Quite a heavy backlog on Solomon Mashlangu through Bronkhorstspruit Road and down towards the N4. The other issues just on the N1 South between Rigel and the Buerta Avenue. That is fairly slow. For a Wednesday, what's in front of you on the N1 through Midrand you'll probably take. I've seen it a lot worse than it is under normal peak hour conditions this morning. Not too bad. Interesting. Crash on the N1 North just going up towards Beyers Nordia. In fact, the N1 Highway queues at Soweto, queues then from 14th up to Beyers, and then from Beyers Nordia round to Rivonia. So plenty of traffic on the M1 North today. Crash at Galuli, so the N12 and R24 routes coming in from Boksburg or down from the airport. Both of those routes are heavy the closer you get to that sort of merge point of those highways for the run into Galuli. So to change. Don't forget, just around Hillcrest outside Durban, the Cassia Road roadworks, that's all going to be changed again today. There'll be all sorts of restrictions on the off-ramps and on-ramps, what have you, Cassia Road and the M13. So if you commute to and from Hillcrest, you know about the roadworks, but it's just going to get a little bit more intense, and that's likely to kick off today. M7 going into Pinetown quite slow this morning, queuing traffic through that central area over St. John's Avenue Bridge. Cape Town, plenty of delay on the R300 from Kales River, jammed all the way up to the N1 Highway, and the N7 coming south, very heavy today. Queues from Plattekloof Road all the way down to the N1 Highway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
You may soon not have to renew your driver's license every 5 years. You get an extension every 8 years. Let's talk to Colin Msibi, National Transport Department spokesperson. Colin, morning to you. Have we got a little bit of time to renew our driver's licenses now?
Well, certainly. I mean, that's the desire of all South Africans to say let's move towards.
Mm.
So we are certainly in the process of finalizing that. What I cannot tell you now is the time frames, but certainly the decision is towards that. We are actually doing the cost analysis at the moment. So that's the only thing that remains, and then the decision is made.
What is the cost analysis? Who would lose out?
Well, it seems the municipalities who would normally get some revenue out of the license would probably have to lose. So we'd have to deal with the revenue implications of that as government. But certainly it would benefit the license holders in terms of time they spend going to the DLTCs, but also in terms of the cost. Because instead of having to pay every 5 years, you're going to have to pay after 8 years.
Yeah, you see, this was my thing. It's there's T's and C's apply. So I'm imagining if you're doing it every 8 years, it's going to cost a little bit more for that renewal.
Well, not really. We're not sure. The jury's out in terms of how much it's going to cost. It's not like now it's going to double because we are renewing after 8 years. I don't think so. But let me not conclude because the decision is not made yet. I don't know how much it's going to cost after the 8 years. But I just don't see it doubling the amount. So I don't think it would go that far.
Are there any other T's and C's you see being implicated? There have been talks about the older you get, the more regularly you should be getting your driver's license renewed.
Well, look, there's an article which was actually a fake news, which came about 2 days ago to say that if the older you are, you're going to have to go do that. It's only after, I think it's after 65 where there is a medical report that's required, if I'm not mistaken, but not necessarily. I mean, there isn't much change that's going to come with the change of the validity. It will remain the same, except that the period changes. Whatever is happening now will remain, except for the period.
Colin, how close are we to electronic driver's licenses? Everything is stored on a big database. Why do I need a card?
There's currently a report, a project in they call it MyMzansi, which is basically looking at that, the digital license. I'm not quite eloquent with the details of that particular project. It's looking at the migration towards the digital license, and I think it's going to be quite an innovative project to move towards. The biggest problems with the digital license is when you get out of the country and for you to be verified and all that, your phone is on the license, and how do you do that? But we know, for instance, that the US citizens who come into the country with their card were able to verify them on the internet as well. So it is quite possible. So I think we should be able to at some point move towards that. So I'm thinking the MyMzansi project is gonna see us.
Yeah, because my ID and my passport and everything is all related to one big database. I must be on a database somewhere that you just go beep and it can say, okay, John has firearm license, he's got a house, he's got all those things are stored.
Certainly. I think, well, moving with the times, things are much better. Remember, at some point, we used to have your license printed on your ID book. But remember, again, the problems that came with that. I mean, you get your ID book, you have a license at the same time, only to find you actually didn't have a license. But because you lost your ID book and you applied for a new one, and all of a sudden it's got a license. So there were those problems at the time. But obviously, with the new technology, probably that can be the thing of the past. We'd be able to do so. So we await with bated breath the new MyMzansi project, and I think it's going to be a country.
All right, and Colin, while I've got you, it's December holiday soon. People starting to get on the roads. Are you ready for a tough December?
Hey, we can never be ready. We always are having our own plans. Some of the motorists, they have their own plans as well in terms of the biggest problems. I think 90% of the road crashes we have, it is because so hence our focus is mainly on the issue of education and awareness campaigns, but also on the law enforcement. So we're going to target areas where there's the common accidents that happen. For instance, as you go to Limpopo, there's a specific notorious road there where 49 people died in a bus. Then the next day, there was another accident on the same spot. So we're going to target those specific areas where we're going to deploy. We've tried to assist the province with the National Traffic Police so that they are also deployed in the provinces. And we hope that's going to really work. But the biggest problem, very big problem, is the issue of pedestrians. With all these squatter camps mushrooming close to the highways, it becomes a big problem, and people don't use the pedestrian infrastructure that we build up with SANDRAL. So it becomes a problem. People just cross wherever they want. And then, of course, they jaywalking, they drink and walk on the road. Becomes a big problem. So that's another focus area for this.
All right, Colin Msibi, thank you very much. National Transport Department spokesperson. Yeah, we might be renewing our driver's licenses every 8 years. I feel like there are going to be some T's and C's applying there. You're with SAFM. Coming up after the news, South Africa had a steady growth, expanding by 0.5%. Is that big enough? We will talk to the Chief Director of the National Accounts at Stats SA, and find out where that growth was recorded. And then there's worrying about special needs schools across KwaZulu-Natal. They're in the brink of an unprecedented shutdown next year. That's coming up. And your calls and phone calls and WhatsApps all after the news at 8.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, 3 people shot dead in Mitchell's Plain and Julius Mkhwanazi to appear before the Matlanga Commission. Good morning. 3 people, including a 9-year-old boy, have been shot dead in Rockland's Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says 4 assailants entered the victim's house and opened fire. He says 2 other people have been wounded in the attack. Trout says police have launched a manhunt for the suspects.
Police in the Western Cape have launched a manhunt after a 9-year-old boy, a young woman and a man were shot and killed in Rockland's Mitchell's Plain last night. 2 others were wounded when 4 gunmen opened fire inside the home. Our anti-gang unit detectives are following strong leads to track down those responsible. We condemn this senseless violence in the strongest terms and we call on the public to assist us.
Meanwhile, in another development, a man from Guguletu on the Cape Flats has died after being shot multiple times last night. Police spokesperson Wesley Tweak says the motive for the shooting is sketchy at this stage. Suspended Ekurhuleni Acting Police Chief Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi is expected to respond to allegations levelled against him at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. Brigadier Mkhwanazi has been implicated in the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Blue Light saga. This for unlawfully installing and authorizing the fitting of blue lights in the vehicles of attempted murder accused Vuzimuzi Kat Matlala. Evidence before the Commission suggests that Brigadier Mkhwanazi was shielded from any disciplinary processes by the retired Ekurhuleni City Manager, Dr. Imogen Mashazi. Sibahle Mota reports.
Brigadier Mkhwanazi, who has been subpoenaed by the Matlanga Commission, will take to the stand at 9:30 this morning. Mkhwanazi is expected to answer questions on the Blue Light saga. He is also expected to respond to a case concerning a Brakpan man whose body was dumped in a dam in Nigel. It has been alleged that Brigadier Mkhwanazi was called to the home of the deceased to assist team members, including those from a private security company, to clean up the murder scene. Mkhwanazi has also been accused of unlawfully appointing 55 Metro personnel without due process.
Meanwhile, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu yesterday told the Commission that the budget for the Political Killings Task Team beyond 2022 was irregular according to the Public Finance Management Act. Mchunu, who's on special leave, was defending his decision to disband the Political Killings Task Team in December last year.
What I'm explaining here is that the National Political Killings Task Team was a project. It had a project leader. It was not a unit in SAPS, and it had no budget allocated, but budget had to be found from other programs, even during extensions to fund it. And it had a clear objective, and it had to be subjected to regular assessments, and costs had to be calculated.
Murder-accused businessman Katiso KT Mulife and his 3 co-accused will again appear in the Alexandra Magistrates Court today for the centralization of dockets. Mulife and his co-accused face charges related to the murders of Opa Sifoka, commonly known as DJ Somebody, and Hector DJ Vintos Buthelezi. Phumzile Mlangeni reports.
In October, the High Court in Johannesburg granted Mulife bail of 400,000 rand. The ruling came after the Alexandra Magistrates Court initially denied him bail. The state argued that Mulife's influence and access to resources made him a flight risk who could interfere with witnesses. But the High Court ruled that he had shown exceptional circumstances justifying his release. Today's sitting is expected to be brief as it will focus on the centralization of the dockets.
Cape Winelands District Municipality says they'll continue to fight one of 2 fires in the mountains above the Doorns. Several fires were burning in the district yesterday. Fire Services spokesperson Joanne Otto says firefighters worked throughout the night to contain some of the fires.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services confirmed that firefighting efforts continue on one of the 2 fire lines reported in the Doorns yesterday afternoon. In the Stoffland area, the fire which occurred on the southern side of the Durance, has been fully contained. The last active flames were brought under control at around midnight. The fire on the northern side of the Hex River Valley, which is above on the Matruisberger Mountains, has moved back into the Witzenberg side and in the area above the Swartmoed Pass. The fire is burning in a scattered line above the farms.
And finally, there are reports of heavy fighting in southern central Sudan between the army and rival paramilitary rapid support forces. The three states of North, South and West Kordofan have become the main battlefield now that the paramilitaries have taken Darfur. The BBC's Julian Bedford has the details.
After 30 months of fighting, Sudan has been partitioned between the army-controlled north and east and the RSF-controlled south and west. All attempts to broker a ceasefire have proved fruitless, with both factions insisting on unrealistic preconditions. The fight is now on for the oil-rich Kordofan states, in particular for El Obeid, the state capital of North Kordofan. Residents of the city reported seeing plumes of smoke rising from an army base there on Tuesday. It had been hit by a drone. For its part, the army says it's made gains in South Kordofan.
Recapping the top story, 3 people, including a 9-year-old boy, have been shot dead in Rocklands in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes hunting for the TV remote, or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2024 Kia Picanto, 52-year-old Janine now only pays 561 Rand a month. And for her 2025 Jetour Dashing, 29-year-old Sana pays just 796 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. JCs and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just a reminder, if you come out of Pretoria's Mamelodi side on Solomon Mishlangi, just factor in some queue time this morning. Going to be asked to sit in traffic through the Bronkhorstspruit Road and down towards that N4 Highway Bridge. The N1 a little bit slow between Rigel Avenue and the Botha Avenue. It has been like that on a daily basis. Good news is, Midrand section, not too bad for a midweek Wednesday. Plenty of traffic on the N1. Queues at Soweto, queues between 14th Avenue and the Bayers Nordia. That's a breakdown. And then from Bayers Nordia round to Ravonia, it all jams up. Crash at Galuli's, N12 and R24. Routes in from Ekurhuleni side. Both of those routes under pressure. Durban's N2 North moving nicely through Spaghetti Junction, so there's a win for the team at this stage. And Cape Town fairly slow on that R300 this morning from Brackenfell up towards the N1. The N1 inbound very heavy from Platterkloof down right through to the city centre, and the M5 stays heavy on that run to the Kubo Interchange backlog around Rondebosch. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes past 8, you with SAFM. We will have sport with Zai at just before 8:30, and another business update after news headlines and traffic. Also coming up, special needs schools across KwaZulu-Natal on the brink of an unprecedented shutdown. There's funding, staffing, infrastructure issues there. We'll hear about that. And in a moment, our economy, South Africa's economy, is steady rebound, it says here, in the third quarter. 0.5%. Is that a lot? We'll talk to the Chief Director of the National Accounts at Stats SA. I'm John Kerricker in for Tulas. Good morning to you. We also have time for calls and WhatsApp voice notes later on as well. Phone calls on 086 000 2032 and our WhatsApp number 0614 104 107.
Don't delay the fun. Fly into summer with FlySafair, Africa's most on-time airline, and land right on schedule to start your holiday. With our consistent on-time arrivals, we'll get you to family, friends, and good times even faster. From local hotspots and beyond to Mauritius, Zanzibar, Zim, and Namibia, you have so much choice on where to soak up the sun. Time's ticking. Get to flysafair.co.za now and book those holiday flights fast. FlySafair, for the love of flying.
The Buccaneers believe they are unstoppable and will walk away as champions. However, Batabane Bantwa plan to reveal their secret game plan on match day. This is the Carling Knockout Final. Witness Orlando Pirates versus Marumo Gallants on Saturday, 6 December at 5 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 6 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with Events Liability Insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on Events Liability Insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
South Africa's economy expanded by 0.5% in the third quarter, fourth consecutive quarter of growth. There's also been a change to quarter two. Let's talk to Dr. Bokang Vumbukani, Dr. Bokang Vumbukazi Lepolesa, Chief Director of the National Accounts at Stats SA. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about the Q2 revision, first of all.
Good morning, John and the listeners. Thank you very much for having me. So what we normally do is after publication of every quarter, in the next quarter, we tend to look at what changes would have been in the previous quarter. And this is because a lot of data that we use is input into our work gets to be revised, or sometimes we get fresh data. So we have made adjustments to what we had published previously. Listeners will recall that previous quarter we had reported a growth of about 0.8%, which we have since revised upwardly by 0.1 of a percentage point to 0.9. So what transpired there, what led to that increase or a revision, an upward revision, was primarily because we had data from transport, storage and communication and finance, which led to us revising both industries upwards. The listeners will remember, I think for transport, this would be maybe one of the most surprising things, that we previously had reported a negative 0.8%, but now we revised that upwardly by 0.9 to 0.1. So from a negative to a positive, purely because of the revision of what we use as the input data. But on the same, in the same context, we revised finance from what we previously reported as growth of 0.3% in the industry to 0.7%. So we upwardly revised that 0.4%. That said, there are a number of industries that we revised downward. Government, mining, manufacturing, as well as trade. And again, this is purely because of the data that we use.
All right, let's talk about quarter three. 9 out of 10 industries getting growth in quarter three. What was the one that didn't?
Okay, so the first thing maybe to even highlight before talking to what had transpired in quarter three, look at what happened in quarter two. We had a single industry, now with the revisions that we've made, we have a single construction in that construction. This is purely on quarter two. But for quarter three, what we are seeing is an expansion or positive growth across all industries, with the exception of utilities, which is electricity, gas, and water. But the rest of them are actually expanding. And the margin of contribution to the growth, if you look at how much each of these industries is contributing, is somewhat the same, because the contributions are hovering between 0 and 0.1.
To me, that sounds like a good thing, that utilities are coming down. The price of utilities is coming down.
Okay, so we'll recall that's not necessarily the price. So it's how much we produced and how much we consume. So what this means is that everything else has expanded in terms of the production, the outputs, right? So in terms of electricity, gas, and water, or utilities, not necessarily the price, but it's how much we produce. So if you think about it, we are reporting for the period July, August, September. So the decrease could primarily be because we came off a season where there was a lot of production, a lot of consumption of electricity, for example. now, which would have been Q2, but now we're moving from that period to a period where there isn't necessarily a need for us to use a lot of electricity, as an example. I would imagine people use a lot of it in winter when it's cold and so on, but we do factor in issues of seasonality to take, the effect of some of the things that come frequently and with time. But that still, that's the case. We do still see, we can factor in we can bring in the issue of efficiency of use of electricity during this time. So it is a good thing. Also, it could be that there is an improvement in how we generally use electricity. So yeah.
Which are the top performing sectors?
Okay, so we saw growth this time being led primarily by trade. So there was a lot of trade across the board, literally. So it was from wholesale trade, retail trade, motor trade, accommodation, as well as food and beverages. So that was the lead or the leading industry in terms of contribution. But we also saw strong contribution from mining, finance, and general government services. And the rest were just there wasn't much contribution, but those four contributed largely. But in terms of growth itself, we might have noticed that mining actually expanded faster than the rest because it had a growth of 0.3%, whereas the rest were just trade was, for instance, on 1%, finance on 0.3%, government on 0.7%.
I know it's Stats SA. You don't give opinions; you just give the facts of what you find. Is this related to market expectations?
Okay, yeah, you are correct, John. We don't predict. We don't talk about expectations, but the numbers do show that we are somehow aligned to what economists expected. We are not very far off from what the analysts and economists expected. And this is purely because I'll just explain how that happens. We have statutory releases of monthly indicators, and a lot of these are what we use in our quarterly numbers, GDP. So economists have information that comes to them on a monthly basis, and they can make predictions based on that. So the closeness of their numbers to what we are officially using, not a surprise that they would have had a lot of those monthly indicators ahead of time. But of course, with an exception of some of the things that they wouldn't have, the examples of which finance, which they wouldn't have, exposure to. So yeah, the fact that the predictions are not far off, really surprising in that they use more or less what we use, except that they don't have everything that feeds into our processes.
And how are we looking through Q4? Lower interest rates, some Christmas spending. Are we looking positive here?
Well, as I said, we don't normally predict what's yet to come. But Q4, we've started collecting. We are going to start actually collecting some of the data that's going to feed into our process. But at this point, I cannot say exactly what way the direction in which the economy is going to go, purely because we only report at a particular point in time for a particular point in time. But if we are to consider things like low interest rates and things, we would expect, of course, household final consumption expenditure to increase, and that's purely what we saw again, because the interest rates have been relatively low for a considerably long time now, and we have seen households spending more. So if households are able to have access to money, easy access to money leads to increased expenditure. So we expect that things are going to turn out the way we expect, in which case, as you said, with low interest rates, what sort of things can we expect? We can definitely make households to spend more.
We will see. Thank you very much. Chief Director, National Accounts at Stats SA, Dr. Bokang Vumbukani Lepolesa.
This season, make Christmas magic together with Spar and Super Savings. Like 2-liter Coca-Cola regular only. Buy 2 for 44 Rand, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 750-gram Cross and Blackwell tangy mayonnaise only for 34.99, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid from 24 November to 7 December 2025. While stocks last, T's and C's apply.
If your bank makes you wait for business hours to call them, then wait on hold during those business hours, you should take a second to ask why they even have your business. Join Discovery Bank to have SA's best bank for client service, available 24/7. For service exactly like no other bank. Discovery Bank is a licensed FSP and Ask Africa's Best Banking Service winner.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Lots of reaction about that interview about with the IEC about people not voting. I asked if you're not going to vote. I wanted to know why, but we'll get into that in a moment. First, Neil wants to talk about the Madlanga Commission. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, John, good morning. How are you?
Look up.
Good, good. John, yeah, no, I watched Imogen, which is the I think the first thing I had a problem was her body language. I mean, she clearly undermined the mission. And then she smirked now and then. And then, I'm worried that if she's not benchmark manager, and I think she caused a lot of, I can see she's the one who's very divisive. She, when she got answer on Mfanazi, God didn't remember she said it. But with Matia and others that she were almost the enemies, she could answer very, very eloquently and, But what bothers him just generally at times is that, when you know you mess up, and then all you say is, I concede, I concede. And, it's water under the bridge. I really hope that, like, and there's a lot of irregularities. So I really think that it will take this forward. And I also want to just comment a little bit one second on Donald Trump. I've seen his proposed agenda for, term as the G20 summit meeting in September. And, you can clearly see the gap between the first world and third world. We focus on the technologies, would be initially focused on developmental approach, inclusive approach. You could use Donald Trump's once you consider your African countries or your developing countries. Yeah, no, that's all I wanted to say. And I really hope the Commission comes up with something concrete that we can act on.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Neil in East London, thank you very much. Let's talk about elections with Mlungisi. Go ahead, Mlungisi.
Morning, Joey.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, John. Man, I'm one of the people I'm not going to vote.
All right.
And this is my own view. For me, nothing has changed. Nothing much actually has changed. Around, for example, I'm sitting in Warrington. You check this, or that the right to get power, but you go around here and just enter Warrington, reach, go to town, it's like it's town. So it's better if I complain it would be for myself. But when I voted, I put people in power. Those who turn against us and can vote. So it's better when I don't vote. I won't complain. Like even if I complain, I will say that I have not participated in voting. And last thing, Jola was a bit little bit like I'm not sure that story in your data around one area independent candidate. He beat all the parties that were competing for votes.
Yes.
And if you check also the number, he won that particular voting data with a higher number. So sometimes to rely in politics so that political parties that will change our lives from night one.
All right. That's your views, Mlungisi. Thank you very much. Do you agree or do you disagree with Mlungisi? Let's take some voice notes. Plenty to get through. Let's focus on the voting for now.
Hi, John. Craig in KZN. You know what really gets me is when people phone in and say, yeah, there's nobody to vote for. There's nobody to vote for. And then they go vote for the same people again. There are other parties to vote for. It's just that our own biases stop us from voting for them. We need to get over ourselves, I think, and maybe give other people a chance. That's all. Get over our biases and give other people a chance.
Good morning, John. Speaking to Kanyisa here in Queenstown, Oman. Hey, I'm going to vote, John. I'm going to vote to kick. There's one reason for me to vote is to kick the ANC out. Please, I urge you people of the Eastern Cape. You see now, we are the mini Somalia of South Africa. In Eastern Cape, I think Eastern Cape is the only province that have leaders that are not motivated. Even in KZN things are happening. In Eastern Cape, I'm one of the interns, by the way. I've never been paid. It's been close to 4 months now. Please, people of the Eastern Cape, you must vote. Vote whatever party you want to vote, except for the ruling party. Please, I'm one of the youth of Eastern Cape. Nkos.
I find it fascinating that you get a voice note like that, but then you also get a text message saying, "Morning, John. I am voting ANC." So let's take more voice notes.
Good morning, SAFM and listeners. Guys, we are in this problem in this country. I will say around the world, we are in big problems. Wars are going up and down because of politicians, and those politicians are are in those positions because of this what we call voting, a right to vote and stuff. Unfortunately, we are voting for people who don't care about us. So for me, to say people must vote and it's your right and stuff, it doesn't matter at all. And it doesn't change any kind of life or any way of life. We are in this big problem all around the world because of politicians whom unfortunately we voted for. Lose Cape Town.
We'll take more voice notes and callers later on in the program.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hour and a half to some ODI cricket, Zai Khan.
Yes, John. And we're looking at taming karma. I know it sounds like a wildlife documentary. Do you know what? We've got the lion in Timber Bavuma, and he's definitely going to be taking the right kind of tranquilizer because we want to hit it against India in the second night happening in Raipur today. India series lead with that 17-run win in the opener, where Kohli struck 155 and Sharma added a half century. Bavuma returns from illness to lead the Proteas. They look to level the series, chasing their first ODI win on Indian soil in over 2 years. Yep, they start at 10 a.m. this morning. Looking forward to this story. There's a fresh twist in the disciplinary case of Devon Ettington after his red card for eye gouging against Wales. Hearing was held yesterday, but in an unusual development, the panel failed to agree on a sanction, and the case will now be reassessed. Springboks enforcer could face a ban between 8 and 24 weeks. It will be a major blow for the Sharks. Coach Rassie Erasmus admitting incident doesn't look good as all parties now await final ruling. On the soccer, Maruma Gallant's coach, Alexander Lapid, hopes to win his first South African trophy on Saturday against Orlando Pirates in the Carling Knockout Cup. And that's the final happening in Polokwane. 5 months since joining the Bloemfontein-based club, Frenchman has reached a major cup final and is possibly 120 minutes from lifting the trophy.
No, for me, I'm very excited. I'm very happy to play this final. But honestly, I'm focused and concentration to help the club and the team to win the trophy. But it's a very important moment for me, for the team, for the club, and for that, I want to respect the Maroon Gallant Saturday, and I hope we win the trophy.
More soccer, FIFA is pressing ahead with plans to trial VAR tech corner kick the 2026 World Cup, despite domestic league rejecting the proposal. At an October meeting, football's lawmakers approved VAR reviews for incorrect second yellow cards, blocked corner kick reviews, meaning FIFA will test the idea of the World Cup in the USA, Mexico, and Canada. Now, the move follows previous tournaments trials like semi-automated offside and referees announcing VAR decisions to the crowd. More soccer, Liverpool manager Arne Slot has confirmed Mohamed Salah will join Egypt after December 15th. Salah will feature against Crystal Palace on the 13th of December before linking up with the Pharaohs for a training camp and a match against Nigeria on the 14th of December. And finally, netball. Johannesburg title defense at the SPAR National Netball Championship suffered another blow in Boksburg. Three-time defending champions were held to a 44-all draw by Mangaung following their opening day loss to Cape Town. Joburg trailed early, fought back to lead in the final quarter, but Mangaung's late third forced their That's just sports. So we've keep the scoreboard moving at half past 12 with John Henniker and Saikan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 3 people, including a 9-year-old boy, have been shot dead in Rocklands in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says 4 assailants entered the victim's house and opened fire. The NPA head advocate Shamila Batoy is expected to conclude a testimony before the Nkabinde inquiry in Pretoria today. Last Friday, she testified the decision to establish an inquiry into suspended South Gauteng prosecution's boss, Advocate Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office was the prerogative of the president. And authorities in Indonesia are rushing to get aid to communities in Sumatra that remains cut off more than a week after heavy rains began lashing the island. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Joburg's N1 is a route under pressure going north. The breakdown before Bayers Nordia, so queues from 14th Avenue, and then shortly after that, you're back in the queue from Malabongwe up through Winnie Mandela, up towards a crash between the Four Ways exit and Ravonia Road. Breakdown on the M1 South at Buccleuch, so all of a sudden that's pushing a queue back beyond Allendale. Hasn't been a bad run through Midrand. There is a bit of traffic between Old Joburg Road and Olifantsfontein, but that's fairly standard. R21 queuing up into the roadworks at Clayville on your way to Pretoria. That's a little bit heavier than you might be expecting for this time of morning. Durban's N2 looking good. If you're on your way to the airport coming up from the south coast, that big queue that happens every morning into Westwood Mall, that eased up a long time ago for some reason, so that's a result. Don't forget new lane layouts, traffic restrictions going in around the Cassia M13 job. That'll happen probably this afternoon. It'll close ramps, on ramps, off ramps. Oh, it'll be having you diverting for the next few days around that one, so just an early heads up about it. Going to be busier than normal. Cape Town N1, Plattekloof Hill down to the elevated freeway, very slow going. Looks like being a busy Wednesday into town using Route 1. Behind that, Marine Drive through Pardon Island, Kuberg Road through Brooklyn, both queuing to get into the M1 highway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
And good morning again to Ntauling Nachela. Sibanya has some wage agreements. What happened?
Well, Sibanya Stillwater has secured a year wage agreement at its local gold operations, moving a major source of labor for the group. These have been ongoing since July, and the deal brings an end to that. The deal has been concluded with Noom, UEFA, and Solidarity, and sets average wage and benefits increases 5.4% a year to June 2020. A category 4 workers will receive an increase of up to 5% over the 3 years, while minors, citizens, and officials will see increases of 4.5%, 4.8%, and 5% respectively. Rania said the agreement provides that rules provision, which has previously been disrupted by wage disputes. According to Reuters, 2022 3-month strike contributed a 42% drop in gold output. Now, the new agreement arrived as financial metrics were strengthened, with December quarter earnings reaching 9.9 billion rand, nearly 3 times higher than last year's level.
And Fourways Mall seeing some positivity. What's happening there?
Yeah, after years of pressure on Fourways Mall, showing the rebound that Dana Accelerate Property Fund has been working towards, with occupancy levels improving faster than expected. Our vacancies at the mall are 2.8%, down from 17.9% ago, as retailers returned and new brands committed. The recent opening of Walmart has added further momentum in traffic at the mall. Over the period, the mall leased 10,544 square meters of space and renewed 17,180 square meters, helped buy 69 million rand in an upgrades that enhance efficiency and modernize facilities. Now, this recovery is echoed across the wider portfolio, with vacancies dropped, rather, where vacancies dropped to 15.1%. Overall revenue grew 59.4 billion rand, boosted by an insurance settlement, stronger rental income, and improved occupancy levels. Now, Accelerate delivered a 49.2 million rand profit after tax, reversing losses lost, while cost savings and lower finance charges supported earnings as well.
And what's happening on the markets today?
Looking at the JSE, likely to open mixed this morning following global peers and also tracking commodity prices. Zooming in on commodity markets, oil at foot this hour, hitting 0.24% and trading above $61 a barrel. Traders eyeing developments between the US and Venezuela, while also tracking Ukraine peace talks and how all of these things affect oil markets in terms of demand supply dynamics. In currencies, the softer dollar working in the rand's benefit is traded at 17 been back to equities, private sector data, PCE figures in focus. Ahead of those trends, US futures are in the green. Lastly, in Asia, trade remains mixed. Investors looking ahead to the next market moving back.
Darling Lachela, thank you very much. Plenty more business coming up throughout the day here on SAFM.
Don't delay the fun. Fly into summer with Flies FF, Africa's most on-time airline, and land right on schedule to start your holiday. With our consistent on-time arrivals, we'll get you to family, friends, and good times even faster. From local hotspots and beyond to Mauritius, Zanzibar, Zim, and Namibia, you have so much choice on where to soak up the sun. Time's ticking. Get to flysafair.co.za now and book those holiday flights fast. Flies FF, for the love of flying.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one, get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Specs, and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief.
Just about 20 to 9, there's a worry in KwaZulu-Natal that special needs schools are on the brink of an unprecedented shutdown. Unresolved funding, staffing, and infrastructure crises threaten their ability to reopen next year. Dipolelo Tema is the Secretary General of the South African National Association of Special Education. Dipolelo, thank you very much for joining us. What's happening in KwaZulu-Natal?
Good morning, you and the SAFM listeners. Yeah, what's happening in the case of that there's been challenges with the payment of subsidies to the schools, as well as staffing challenges, including transport and many other sorts of challenges that the schools are facing.
What sort of response are you getting from the Department of Education or from KZN leadership?
Promises, and more promises without dealing with the basics. The basics for the schools to operate is to ensure that children have transport that will take them from one place to the school, and there is money that will buy food for them, including parents of those who are taking care of them. Because in many of the provinces, our special schools are experiencing levels of attrition, where people retire, some pass on unfortunately, and they are not replaced. And therefore, SDPs who are our members are faced with the challenge of having to try and close the gap. Now, if the money that is supposed to be used for such purposes in basic such as when we see what now, schools have only received half what they're supposed to. Yeah, and December, so you wonder how this department actually took care of.
let's talk about staff. From what I see, it's support staff that are the positions that are not being filled. So, are there enough teachers, first of all?
There are teachers. Let me say this, and I need to in context. During those olden years when we are colonial, colonizer gave us an impression that the classroom for a school for a black child rooms and that is very wrong because in modern days, particularly with children with special needs, a school to support for therapy, it's to assist providers that provide reasonable accommodation. These are the things that need to level the teacher be able to deliver the curriculum. So if we are short of that, then there's no
Mm.
they say.
So you can have all the teachers you want. If these kids aren't looked after around the school, what's the point?
Yeah, then what's the point? Thank you, man.
Right. Talk about infrastructure as well. You've had all those floods and things down in KwaZulu-Natal. What are the schools looking like?
Yeah, there are schools that are seriously experiencing infrastructure challenges. And when you're struggling for things, you're not worried about it. But it is part of the problem that our infrastructure is there. Yeah, but it's the list of our worries at least. Because we are battling for the basic thing.
Wow. Just listening to you, Dipolelo, it sounds as if the leadership are just washing their hands and going, "You'll sort yourselves out."
Well, the have in the of the leadership of the resolvers, and we still have to try this, engage further. We are just saying that we want to distinction that Tanasa wants to. We want to say that you see, driver of a car actually more understanding of the car rather than the owner, provided the food and the driver are not the same person. If I tell you that the people that is in the car will not reach it, and you don't want to feel like you want to say that I'm the car, then you are ridiculous.
What is first of all, when will we know if the schools are going to open next year?
Yeah, let's give the process a chance, the engagement a chance, end of the month, then we would be able to tell exactly what happened. We are, however, comfortable that there has been engagement for station, the HR of the Department of Education, about and political positions that we filled of. So we think that the progress is not only service.
Worst case scenario, what happens to the hundreds of kids, if not thousands of children, that won't be able to go to a school if they don't open?
Yeah, I believe it's hope because the parents also are in the situation. They look at say, is a child actually take the child travel on a transport when they cannot when they get there, probably no electricity. But then the parents make a decision.
Your timeline's very short. You got a week and a half, Dipolelo. We know how the departments work. Is that enough time?
We think it's enough time, given that this problem actually did not start now, a long time ago, and we have escalated that basically, and then in our understanding, Section 18 of the PFM was national financial plan was supposed to intervene in this matter. And there was some sort of intervention because the public schools received their money, and the most vulnerable did not. We also view this as and I said a few weeks ago on this very same thing, this lack of policy position demand, but that's once you can see what to do. Create the problem. And we call upon the Minister of Basically actually intervene in this regard and ensure that there's legislation that drive our schools. And I mean,
Lelo Tema, thank you very much. Secretary General of the South African National Association of Special Education.
Don Jerica on SAFM.
Take calls and voice notes. We're going to go to Prince in a moment. Let's take some voice notes on voting.
Morning, SAF. Morning. It's him sound goes. What I observed so far, about voting thing, I think people they tried to remove ANC to power, but the problem is we have these so many parties that are formed. Those parties they won't help us because they are what they are after. They are after money. If they are not after power to control the money in South Africa, they would just form maybe two parties, not all these bloody parties. But now, what it seems to me, they are running. They are after money, not the citizens. It's gonna be even we can elect them, they're gonna do the same thing because what they are, want to feed their pockets. That's not the problem in South Africa.
Good morning, John. My name is Eric. I live in Orlando West. I believe it's about time that the whole of Africa must open their eyes to say we don't need politicians to govern Africa. We need leaders, ethical leaders. Thank you.
Let's go to Prince in Durban. What do you think, Prince?
Hi, John. How are you?
Okay, go ahead.
No, just wanted to answer also on the voting issue. You know, John, I don't see it as an ultimate solution for problems. You know, seriously, considering the fact, you know, the political parties, especially given the reason there are so many of them, it's more like a business opportunity. You know, all these political parties, like companies basically. Having, I mean, wearing a blanket of party life.
So what are you going to do, Prince?
So right now, I don't know. Just you know, I think it's a matter of just concentrating on solving the issues of the government, not necessarily thinking that for a new political party will solve the problem we have. You know.
Who will do that? Who will do that?
Okay.
Who is going to solve the problems of the government, as you say?
No, just like doing what now. We're putting them, you know, this accountability practice and all these things. You know, the one in charge of the government.
All right.
You know,
Prince in Durban, thank you very much. Mpo in Randburg, you want to talk about a commission? Paul, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Maybe let me pass by this one quickly. I think I would still like to vote, and I will vote. But there's a lot of racial demand of the issues there and there, but generally the country seems to be moving forward to pick up like issues that solve corruption in particular, education, but overall in the country. Let me come to the problem. That is an interesting thing, John, that in the Madanga Commission, the lady who came to manage, you know that she received audit in the Auditor General in audit success.
Yes.
And I think there's a need to check who was auditing there. Was it a fair process? Whether somebody was paid to give an audit? Because on what you said in the answer, the behavior just says there's need to be disciplined.
Yeah, that did come up yesterday, and it's something that we will keep a close eye on. Paul, is the clean audits. Who's doing those clean audits, and how did that happen? We're going to take more calls in a moment. We've got to take a quick break for some traffic.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, quick traffic. The N1 going north in Joburg has been a problem this morning. A big volume Wednesday and a couple of obstructions. One is a breakdown before Bayers Nordia, and then further up a crash before Ravodia. Also the M1 South, which hasn't been too bad this morning, but now it's all changed. Coming through Midrand, a breakdown at Buccleuch, pushing a traffic queue back almost to New Road. There's also a collision on the N12 Potch Highway at the N1, so coming up from Eldos for a turn up towards Devland, if you like. Some delays there. Temporary closure of the N3 around Town Hill for truck crash recovery. If you're leaving Peter Maritzburg, you might want to do that later, or get off at Chatterton, or get off somewhere before that and take the old road, come back on at Peter Brown, or keep going through to Hilton to bypass that one. And Cape Town, heavy pressure into the city centre. There's a massive cruise liner, the Mein Schiff 5, that is in the harbour. It's a massive ship, and I think that's probably the cause of it. Everybody having a look. The N1 inbound is heavy. Nelson Mandela Boulevard queuing up into the city centre, and behind all that, Marine Drive parking heavily back through Parton Island. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Don't delay the fun. Fly into summer with Flies FF, Africa's most on-time airline, and land right on schedule to start your holiday. With our consistent on-time arrivals, we'll get you to family, friends, and good times even faster. From local hotspots and beyond to Mauritius, Zanzibar, Zim, and Namibia, you have so much choice on where to soak up the sun. Time's ticking. Get to flysafair.co.za now and book those holiday flights fast. Flies FF, for the love of flying.
Dive into a summer of extra with free gifts from Vodacom on all summer deals. Like the Honor 400 5G for just $499 per month over 36 months on a 1 gig rate core plan. You also get a free Honor Pad X7 worth $1,999. Plus, get 5 gigs YouTube data for 3 months and 2 months free YouTube Premium. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Let's go to calls with 8 minutes left in the show. Tandaza in Durban, go ahead.
John, how are you?
Lekker, thanks.
Good. First time on radio.
Excellent.
I want to
Welcome.
talk about voting.
Mhm.
We're so demotivated. I'm 36 now. Started voting when I was 18. But there's absolutely no change. What assurance can we get that if we vote now, there's going to be a change? Unemployment rate is so high, and there's just no change. Why should we vote?
Well, that's the question, right? If you keep doing the same thing repeatedly, isn't that the first sign of madness?
No. But the thing is, there is no change. The curriculums in high schools are so bad. In townships, people have a high school and they end up with unemployment rate. Like, we should be voting for not even a single ounce of change.
You don't think you can make the change as the voter?
I mean, sitting in queues for like since 6 a.m. in the morning, and then the very next day, there's no change. Like, we're just used to voting. Everyone is so used to voting. There's no change.
So what's the solution?
The solution is that we get assurance that what we vote is becoming, and that it's not for God promises, but you know, the party is actually going to bring those promises to life. Actually, the job curriculums in school are going to change, and we need change. We just need change.
All right, Tandaza, thank you very much, and welcome to the show, by the way. It's good to have you calling. Call again. Look forward to hearing from you again. Let's go to Ste in Durban as well. You want to talk about elections, Ste? Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, John. The solution, John, that is very tough. Stay away from the man, stay away from the whole man, because we've been voting since the inception of voting, but politicians promised us today. I don't know how many times the government provide structure for employment. And therefore, keeping or the promise that one was promised. John, I did not have the staff even cost of a maid. I don't know. I think it's been. I'm not working, John. John, I vote. I don't think that the politic will solve our, especially the
What will solve the
we need
issues?
the system. We need professionals to take over the responsibility of politicians. Politicians, to me, are disqualified. They need to sit. Uh, they mess up or they play around with our lives.
All right, stay in Durban. Let's go to Wiseman in Edenvale. What do you think, Wiseman?
How are you, John?
I'm fantastic, thanks.
Good, John. You're speaking to Wiseman. Good.
Mhm.
Just want to comment about this issue of voting. Voting, John, is very important. You know, if you are not voting, I don't know who's going to complain because you give an opportunity to you want to be in power. Right? So, if it doesn't mean that if you don't get something at that time, you don't just live like that. You have to vote. Be the person that will be elected, change your life and change around. I think that John, I will vote. Yeah, we'll vote for the ANC. You know, I've been voting for the ANC for a long time, and I've seen some changes. You know, there are a lot of things that are happening, but we can't just stay away. It is up to show people that we are capable of doing something. Thank you.
Wiseman in Edenvale, thank you very much. Let's take some voice notes to wrap up the show. We got 3 minutes or so.
Morning, John. Morning to all the SAFM listeners. I'll definitely vote, and DA is my party. I'll always vote for DA. It's going to change Gauteng, and people need to go out there and vote so that we can kick this corrupt ANC government out. Thanks, Sife and Soweto.
Good morning, John and SAFM listeners. John, to me, I don't vote. Voting doesn't bring anything to us. Voting is a foreign concept that was brought into Africa by colonizers. If you see how Africans were suffering, it's because of this concept of voting, because it produces anarchy, it produces leaders to become self-enrichment. So voting, in other words, in Africa, it doesn't work. Because if you see the suffering of the people of Africa, it's because of this concept of voting. So to me, voting is useless. It's just a fallacy. Thanks, James Johannesburg.
Good morning. Listen, I think we need to have voter education programs back on TV and on our radios, because it's so sad to hear our youth. It's so sad to hear people saying they're not going to vote because the party that they want to vote for or doesn't put the person they trust as the president or whatever, and as a result of that, they're going to abstain from voting. Do we not realize that by not voting, we're not changing anything? In fact, we're making things worse. But because if we vote, at least we're voting for vote for a different party if you feel like the party you want doesn't have anyone that you vote for a different party and see if there can be any change. There's a lot to say, but yeah, thank you.
Good morning, John. This is Sabelo Sihlengobo in Stellenbosch. The question of whether we shall vote prompts a rejection of the entire democratic system, as opposed to a question of whether people will vote and whether they shall vote for political parties, which then brings the attention to the party political system as opposed to the entire democratic system. I will vote, but never for any other political party, because I think the party political system is messed up. It's corrupt and cannot be redeemed in South Africa.
We could have this conversation for a long, long time. Maybe something we'll bring up in the nighttime show. We've got more time. That's the program. Thank you very much to Tapela Melissa for producing the program. Push the buttons for me today. Made sure that I sounded brilliant. Have yourself a lekker day. Hopefully Tulas is back tomorrow. It's 9 o'clock.
In our top stories, 3 people shot dead in Mitchell's Plain and ANC Greater Johannesburg region convenes its conference. Good morning. 3 people, including a 9-year-old boy, have been shot dead in Rocklands in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says 4 assailants entered the victim's house and opened fire. He says 2 other people have been wounded in the attack. Trout says police have launched a manhunt for the suspects.
Police in the Western Cape have launched a manhunt after a 9-year-old boy, a young woman and a man were shot and killed in Rocklands, Mitchell's Plain last night. 2 others were wounded when 4 gunmen opened fire inside the home. Our anti-gang unit detectives are following strong leads to track down those responsible. We condemn this senseless violence in the strongest terms and we call on the public to assist us.
The NPA head advocate Shamila Batoy is expected to conclude a testimony before the Nkabinde inquiry in Pretoria today. Last Friday, she testified the decision to establish an inquiry into suspended South Gauteng prosecution's boss, Advocate Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office was the prerogative of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Batoy reported Chauke to the president in 2023, leading to his suspension in July this year. Batoy also argued she heavily relied on expert opinions prior to referring Chauke's matter to the presidency for consideration.
So, simply put, I considered Advocate Nalane's opinion, I considered Advocate Maneche's opinion, I considered Dr. Broughton's 2 opinions, the first and the supplementary, Advocate de Kock's memorandum. At that point, when I made the authorization, when I made the recommendation to the president, through the minister, and of course, it's the president's ultimate decision to hold this inquiry. I was not the decision maker, I certainly made a recommendation to the president. The president is the ultimate decision maker in this matter.
The ANC in Johannesburg is set to kick off its 16th regional conference today. The conference was scheduled for September but was delayed due to allegations of division, factionalism and manipulation among members. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero is expected to contest the regional chairperson position against Luiso Masuku, a member of the Mayoral Committee for Finance. In June, the ANC Gauteng Provincial Task Team disbanded the party's Johannesburg Regional Executive Committee, which was led by Morero. Tabiso Khadebe reports.
The 3-day regional conference follows the withdrawal of a motion of no confidence against Morero in the Johannesburg Council. It also comes after the ANC's national leadership, through Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, set a deadline for regions to hold their conferences as the date for the party's 5th National General Council approaches. This ANC NGC will take place in Ekurhuleni next week, while the Johannesburg Regional Conference is scheduled to conclude on Friday.
The Construction Industry Development Board has launched an urgent probe into the KwaZulu-Natal construction sector, following explosive revelations that highly rated contractors have failed to deliver on critical infrastructure projects. The board says this is costing the province an estimated 4.6 billion rand. Meanwhile, Transport MEC Sibuniso Duma has alleged some of these entities may have fraudulently bought their high-level grading certificates, allowing them to secure massive tenders, while they lacked the actual capacity to complete the job. CEO of the Construction Industry Development Board, Bongani Dladla, responded to the allegations.
The allegations have been raised by the KZN Department of Transport that the major contributor to their project failures due to the fact that they affected some of the highly graded contractors with what they are grading. And we are investigating that matter and saw that if there has been any foul play from the aspect of the registration process, we can deal in the register. But we are going also beyond to look at the procurement processes that led to those contractors and the performance of the client, consultants, and contractors in that project.
And finally, authorities in Indonesia are rushing to get aid to communities in Sumatra that remained cut off more than a week after heavy rains began lashing the island. The number of people killed stands at more than 750. Hundreds of thousands more are in need of